For this homework assignment, the goal is to share your cover letter or your entire proposal with the community to get feedback to help improve your proposals and ultimately land more freelancing jobs. So right now I just have a job pulled up, and what you want to do is click the Submit a Proposal button, which will open up the proposal page. From here, you will go through, select your rate, and then that is when you will finally get to the cover letter section, and this is all in the additional detail section. This is what you want to share with the community. So after you go through and you customize this, you answer all the questions, you get your cover letter in here and customize for the client, all you have to do is just take a screenshot of this detail section and everything you wrote in there, and then share that with the Discord community, and you will get feedback on this homework assignment. Now, if you don't want to take a screenshot of everything, you can just simply copy and paste your cover letter over if you want. Some jobs don't have additional questions, but that's pretty much it. All you have to do is either copy and paste over each of the different sections here, or just take a screenshot, go over to Discord and share it with the community, and you will have completed your homework assignment. This lesson is called How to Land Your First Clients, and it will teach you how to secure your first jobs as a freelancer and get those 5-star reviews that will propel you forward. This lesson is important because landing your first clients as a freelancer is one of the most challenging parts of the entire journey. And I'm talking from experience here because there was a while where I was without a first client, and I was trying to figure out how I can secure that first client that will open the door to my future. And that is exactly what I'm going to be teaching you in this lesson. I'm going to be showing you how you can get over that obstacle fast of not having any experience and use a freelancing hack that I've learned to help you get those very first clients. This will help you secure those first good reviews, which will open up the pathway to your future freelance success. We will be going over how to land your first trial clients, your first jobs as a freelancer, next, how to do the math, and this is all about the success rates and how to plan for success as a freelancer. And lastly, we will cover how to use the power of massive action as it relates to landing your first clients. It all comes full circle here, as we went over this in the beginning modules of the course. Now I'll be showing you how to apply this so you can get those first few deals. And now I am going to reveal how you can get your first client, and I like to call it the trial client. What this means is you're bringing someone onto the Upwork platform so you can get that first good review. The reason it's a trial client is because it's a one-time project to start. The goal with the trial client is so you can secure that 5-star review on Upwork that will kickstart your freelance business. You can use this to scale to multiple clients in the future. But without having at least a couple client reviews on your profile, you are going to severely limit your potential on Upwork. So a trial client is you going out into the marketplace and getting a client to pay you on the Upwork platform. This way, you get to secure that good review, Upwork gets to make the money through the platform, and the client gets to have that service that you're offering for a discounted rate. You can use a script like this to get your first trial clients. So you can post this on Facebook and have your friends share it, or you can send it directly to business owners you know. They can even be friends or family or friends of friends, etc. The whole goal here is to reach out to a business owner that needs a problem solved. And you are the one that is the curious student. So you are the one that is going to say something to the effect of, "Hi everyone, I'm currently learning Google Ads right now, and so far I'm getting some awesome results. But before I can start charging full price for my services, I need to find a business willing to let me practice everything I've learned so far. In return, I will offer a massive discount on my monthly Google Ad package. Please comment below if interested." So for this example, I filled it in with the skill I provide, which is Google Ad Services, but you can just put in whatever skill you want to provide and that you've been studying and learning. You can always go back to the skill demonstration lessons if you want to expand your skill set or look for the most profitable skills you can offer. Once you've posted this, you can go through all of the responses and you can choose who is the best fit for you. From there, it's super simple. All you need to do is just tell them to sign up for Upwork as a client, and it will walk them through if they want to invite freelancers to that specific project or if they want it to just be a public project. And from there, you can do everything through the platform, submit the work, and get that first good review. That's a great way you can secure your first few clients on Upwork, and it's something that I wish I knew when I was first starting out. Because when I was starting out, it took me months to get my first recurring client. I would have a couple small projects here and there, but it wasn't anything that built any credibility on my profile. But when you get this trial client and you get a couple of them, it not only shows that you've earned money on the platform, but it also shows 5-star reviews. So that shows that you're delivering amazing service. In addition to that, you can also use that to create portfolio items such as case studies using the case study blueprint, which will help your profile stand out even more. Lastly, by doing this and getting a trial client and building case studies, it all helps you in the Upwork algorithm. They will start to serve you and your profile to more potential clients because they see that you're having success. And that's their whole goal. They want to match up high-ticket business owners with freelancers who know what they're doing. So go out there, post this script on your social media. Don't hold anything back. You have nothing to lose here. And if it gets a lot of engagement, remember, you don't want to take on a lot of these. Your goal is quality, not quantity. Start with the ones you know you can deliver great service and value to and great results, so you can show that off and get those first good reviews. As you get out there in the marketplace and you begin to send out those proposals and you're working on those first few jobs, I suggest starting with one-time projects. This is a fixed price project that you can help provide exceptional value on. That will help you get those 5-star reviews and start to build your profile. I don't suggest going out there and starting with an hourly long-term project right from the start, because what you want to do is you want to be able to get those good reviews. If you're working on a long-term project right when you begin freelancing, that is not going to allow you to get that 5-star review quickly, because you only get that review after the project is completed. So that's why with the trial clients and with your first few jobs, I highly suggest going after some intermediate level work that is a one-time project. This way you can deliver exceptional value, get that 5-star review, and move on to the next client to continue building your profile. Number 2, use those previous results that you begin to get to land more clients. So with all those trial clients and the first jobs you get, build out as many case studies, testimonials, and portfolio items you can. It's all about momentum and getting the ball moving forward. So think about it like pushing a car. If your car ever ran out of gas, you know how hard it is to get it moving at first. But once it starts rolling, aka once you start getting some trial clients and some jobs on your profile, everything starts to become easier. The car starts to roll along. You start to land more clients. All you need is a little push to help that car start going. And that's what those trial clients are for you. So the more people you get to help push that car, aka the more jobs you land on Upwork and the more reviews you have to expand your portfolio and your profile, before you know it, the car is moving at such a high speed that you're well on your way to a profitable freelance business. So think about that metaphor as you begin this journey. And number 3, go after jobs you know you can crush. That means you know you can do well on. You need perfect scores here. That means 5 out of 5 reviews, and that means good testimonials that are well thought out with multiple sentences there. If you don't provide exceptional service and the job just turns out okay, the client is not going to want to leave you a lengthy review. They might give you a 5-star review, but your goal is an exceptional review. And that's how I've built my profile. And I also ask the clients after each project is complete, I make sure to tell them, mark the job as completed successfully, and I let them know how important that perfect score is to me. When you make that clear and you make that understood during the scope of work of the project, the client knows that you're working very hard for that good review. So make sure you let the client know you're not just in this for the money, you're in this for the long-term relationship and to secure a good review for them in return for providing exceptional work. Now it's time to do the freelance math. The freelance math is how you can start to project your success rates. If you do the freelance math and you begin to plan ahead for the proposals you need to set out in the meetings and the client calls you need to have, you will set yourself up for success. It all does depend on your market, the skill you're providing, and your capabilities, but it is also dependent on how hard you work. So this is where that law of massive action starts to kick in. Because if you don't fall fairly close to the stats I'm about to reveal, you need to go back and look at what you're doing. Because as you execute the law of massive action, you also need to make sure that you're focusing on that quality. Some markets are going to be much more competitive than others in the freelance space, but take into account these stats to see if you're on the right track. Let's say you send out 20 proposals, and this is 20 proposals using the winning formula. So that means you're doing the work, you're getting that attention in that opener, you're providing reviews. 20 proposals should get you, on average, about 6 responses. A response is just a client reaching back out to you after you sent that proposal. So they'll send you a message on Upwork and they might ask you a question or they might ask you to schedule an interview call. So out of those 6 client responses, you can expect on average to get about 4 client calls / sales demos out of those. And the reason for that is because there's always a drop-off at every level. Even though 6 people got back to you, it doesn't mean that you're going to get all 6 of those people on the phone. On average, a couple people and a couple potential clients will fall out along the way. So it's important to do this math and understand this journey so you don't get discouraged at any stage. After those 4 client calls and sales demos, if you're doing everything that I teach in this academy, you should end up with about 2 closed deals. And that means you're closing about 50%, which is very, very good. But that is easily achievable when you're going above and beyond. And when you're using all of the profitable freelance sales principles that I teach in this academy. Now it's time to start to assign some time to this equation. Those 20 proposals should take you about 20 hours to complete. Now it's time to start to do the math and get realistic with yourself. If it's not taking you about an hour per proposal, you're not doing it the right way. You're not putting the research in, and you're definitely not providing the level of quality, of relevance, and actually showing some of the work that's needed to stand out. It takes a lot of time in the beginning, especially when you're new to creating these proposals. But as you go forward and you get better, you will get more efficient over time. So even if the proposals take you an hour to start, that's 20 hours to begin with. And that is what is needed to get to that level of 6 client responses. Those 6 client responses will take you about another 2 hours of time. And that's because you're going to need to reach out to them. You might need to go back and forth with messaging and scheduling. They might even want to have a quick 5-10 minute preview call before they even schedule an in-depth interview call with you. So all of those things take time. When you get those 4 client calls / demos out of those 6 responses, those will take about 8 hours. The reason I give that 8 hours is because each client call and demo should take at least an hour of research and prep beforehand, and then an hour allocated towards the call. So if for every call you're doing an hour of research before, planning it out, putting together your call script in HubSpot like you should be doing, and doing that client research on the back end, you should be spending at least an hour doing that, and then an hour speaking with the client and actually conducting the call or the demo. So that's another 8 hours right there. So to get those 2 closed deals, you should understand the freelance math says it takes about 40 hours to get there. This is very important to understand. That means it takes about a full work week to land 2 clients. Of course, remember these numbers may vary, but this is just a general baseline of what success can and should look like when you use all of my teachings. Once you do the work, it will start to pay off, but you need to remember the big picture here. So be careful spending your time on those tiny jobs that are not worth your time. You need to work with high-ticket clients. That's the whole goal. When you work with those high-ticket clients, you're able to turn those into long-term projects that makes that 40 hours of initial work well worth it. Also, remember that when you send out those proposals and don't get a response back. In my journey, I used to get very discouraged at first, but when you understand the freelance math, you know that that proposal got you one step closer to that final closed deal. So remember this freelance math as you go out there into the marketplace. And the truth is, one good week can create a thriving freelance business. As we discussed in the beginning of this academy, massive action is needed to have sustainable success. But full-time freelancing could be much closer than you think. So many clients are out there looking to fill opportunity and jobs and problems they need solved. So many people always complain about the economy and no jobs and no opportunity, but those people often don't ever change their perspective and go out there and find the opportunity. There's always clients hiring. There is no risk to get started as a freelancer. But be aware of any get-rich-quick schemes or anyone that says that building a profitable business is super easy and can happen overnight, because it is not. However, if you understand the freelance math like we just learned in this lesson, you will be putting yourself at a much greater chance for having success. Use the law of massive action here. Make sure you're only putting your all into everything you do. And once you start to combine all of those things together, you can see how a good week of massive action can change your life and build a profitable business. That is the end of the Finding and Closing High-Ticket Clients module. Now you understand everything that goes into the freelance sales process, how you can go out there, find those clients, execute everything I taught you, and close them. I look forward to seeing you in the next module. This lesson is called Negotiating and Closing the Deal, and it will show you how to negotiate with clients and close freelance deals. This lesson is important because everything you do in life relies on your ability to close. You might think this is just a thing with business, but it's not. It's your entire life, because you need to first understand what the close is, and then you will see how it really does apply to everything. The close is where you get an exchange. Life is all about negotiating, and the final step in the pursuit of any goal is the close. It's something that happens in every part of your life. The world is full of big ideas and dreams, but without closing, you can't make anything a reality. This is the most important skill that you will learn and you will master on your freelance journey. And it determines how good you will do. Because even if you're the best at your skill set, if you don't know how to negotiate and to close deals and land clients, you will never have freelance success. In this lesson, we will be covering the difference between an objection and a complaint, how to handle those real objections that do come up, how to assume the sale to land more clients, how to have 100% conviction throughout this entire process so you can be a better negotiator, how to focus on the benefits that you're providing, and then how to negotiate with value, not with price. And lastly, how to control the freelance sales process so you can negotiate and close at a much higher success rate. Now it's time to look at the difference between what a complaint is and what an objection is. A lot of people mistake complaints for real objections, and that hurts them when they go to negotiate and close deals, because a lot of times they're focusing on handling the customer's complaints, which are nothing more than a complaint and really doesn't hold them back from purchasing. So most of what you hear are actually complaints, or what's known as an RDR, which is a reactionary defense response. You can think about this when you go to a mall or a store and you walk into that store, and what happens? You're greeted by a salesperson and they ask you, "Can I help you find anything?" And usually 99% of the time, even if you're there for a specific thing, most people are protective and defensive because they know salespeople are there to make money by selling them things. So what do most people say? They say, "Oh, I'm just looking, thank you." And what does that do? That automatically comes off as an objection for the salesperson, and they usually say, "Okay, let me know if you need anything, I'll be over here." They took the complaint for an objection. That is not a real objection. Most people are there to find something. So what salespeople can say instead is, "Okay, no problem. What are you looking for? I'll show you where the right direction is." That's how you can automatically start moving into fact finding and not focus on the complaint. Make sure you understand what a reactionary defense response is and what a complaint is and what a real objection is. It will be different based on what freelance skill you provide and what type of clients you work with. But it's up to you to begin to identify the difference between the two. The reason this is important is because you don't handle objections that are really only complaints. Distinguish the difference between these two and treat all objections as complaints until the potential client gives you a reason otherwise. Most complaints can be handled simply by just saying, "I understand," and then moving on to the next stage. That could even mean moving on to asking them to close the deal. So handle them by agreeing first. And then if the complaint is brought up enough and validated, it will turn into an objection that you can then handle using the future steps I'm going to provide. Then you want to move past the complaints to find the customer's real pain points and their buying motives. That is how you can learn to handle them. So when you're dealing with objections and RDRs and complaints, always agree with them first and move further towards finding what their real motives are. Sometimes what they say isn't always what they mean, and you need to listen for small things like the tone of their voice and what they're implying with the words they're saying. Now, let's move on to how you can handle those objections that are real and that aren't just complaints. First, you want to agree first, no matter what. We've spoken about this throughout the academy, and the reason that I'm bringing it up multiple times is because in order to be a profitable freelancer, this needs to be deeply ingrained in what you do and how you act. Agreeing with customers builds a relationship with them. So keep using those different phrases I've been teaching you, such as saying, "I understand," "I totally get it," "I know where you're coming from," and things of that nature. That helps people feel more comfortable. And that's why when you're going and negotiating and closing, understand that you're providing value, because closing a client is really providing them a service, because you're making them pull the trigger and make a decision. So don't get this confused with just being nice. When you look into what the word nice actually means, it actually means something that comes from another word that means foolish, simple, silly, or ignorant. So you don't want to be nice, but what you want to do is relate with the client, tell them you understand, and then move to the next step in the journey. Always remember, you need to be attempting to close and to land the client if they're a good fit for you. Keep persisting on your journey. Whenever stalls, complaints, and objections come up, make sure to agree with them and move on. If they really keep bringing it up, that's when you can go about learning what the real pain point is and how to handle that objection. Closing is a service you're providing. So remember this as you're selling clients and as you're negotiating with them, because you're not just doing this to be nice, you're doing it to help them. They need to make a decision, and you know that you're the best fit for the project. So make that clear while you're communicating with them. Next, write down the most common objections that you get. You can also include the different stalls and the different complaints that come up. What you're trying to do here is get a list of the most common things people say when you're trying to sell your specific skill set or whatever product or service it is that you sell. Once you have this list, you'll realize there's probably only a handful of common objections, and they can probably fit within a couple different categories. That helps you determine how you can handle each objection from a systematic approach. So once you know how to handle the different price objections people have, or maybe it's an education objection where they just don't know how something works that you're offering, and for that reason, it's throwing them off. Once you know what the common objections are, and you know how to handle them from experience, that's when you can turn into the most profitable freelancer possible. After that, continue finding ways to handle that objection and drill down on it. So once you find a handful of your most common objections and you start to understand different ways that you can handle them, that's when you want to start drilling down deeper and finding multiple different ways you can handle each specific complaint. As you start to drill things and as you start to prepare scripts from this, that will help you get more skilled. There's a saying out there, it says, drillers become killers. And that means in sports and anything you do in life, the more you drill something, the more effective you are going to be at it, especially when you're competing with people who haven't drilled these things. So even though there's competition out there in freelancing and in every industry, if you do everything I'm teaching you in this academy and you continue to drill and to practice, you'll be putting yourself in the best position possible to really have success and to land clients on a consistent basis. So write down all of those objections, start to drill how you can handle them, and you can even record yourself doing this daily and role play with another person. The more serious you take this, the more success you will have. Then continue developing a full arsenal of ways you can handle all of the objections. So even though you might have a couple of different ways to handle each one, don't settle with that. Always have an arsenal at your disposal that you can use. Have an arsenal of different closes that you can use in any situation that comes up. Most people quit because they only have a couple of closes. But what happens when those fail and the client doesn't understand those or doesn't go with those? You need a bunch in your pocket that you can just pull out to handle all different types of people, different personalities, and different types of clients. This relates back to the correct expectations of work required to get the results that are needed. You need to know that it takes a lot of work to become successful at anything. And you don't just stop once you have a couple solutions. Wouldn't you rather be over-prepared than under-prepared? What you want to do is you want to develop a full way that you can handle every specific situation. This will all be integrated into your call scripts, into your CRM, and into your profitable freelance sales process. Next, don't shy away from the truth. Pressure is perceived as a bad thing in society, and it gets a lot of people flustered. They don't know how to handle it. But in reality, pressure is a good thing, and pressure is what makes diamonds. So when you're pressuring someone to do something that you know is right for them, that's not a bad form of pressure. If you're telling clients the truth that if they don't work with you now and they wait and they go with someone else, that could potentially be a bad choice for them, that's fine. You need to tell clients the truth. You must be willing to be insistent. You need to be able to keep following up and to keep pushing for the sale. don't worry about being nice. Worry about servicing the client. Never listen to what society says just because there's a certain norm. Remember, the school system and society, they make people that are just good at staying in a specific box, performing the tasks that they need to, paying taxes, and then dying. That's what the normal society is breeding. So as a profitable freelancer, that's not you. So you have to break those norms and don't get comfortable with always doing what the societal norm is. If you believe you are better than the competition, then you need to put pressure on that client to close the deal. Pressure is what will close those deals in those last few moments. You need to keep persisting, and you need to be so sold on your offer and on what you offer as a freelancer that you keep using that to drive you forward. When you're purpose-driven and you're focused on your why, money will just be attracted to you based on the actions you're taking. Because when you're focusing on your purpose, you're willing to take the actions necessary to succeed. So be goal-oriented here, and don't shy away from the truth and from pressure. The burden of physical or mental distress is going to be worth achieving your passion and your dreams and your why. So remember all of that as you're negotiating and closing deals, to always stay in the line of the truth and to move the journey forward one step at a time. And this also means asking those hard questions when you need to push that sales process forward. If someone doesn't seem like they're paying attention to you on a call, for example, just ask them, do I have your full attention right now? If you're giving people a sales demonstration and you can tell that they're asking questions that seem like they just don't believe you, ask them, do you believe anything I'm saying right now? You need to ask the hard questions as they come up, and you need to get answers for them. You can also ask them, what % of everything I've said right now do you actually believe? What this does is it gets them to connect. You're letting them know that you know in the freelance sales process that freelancers say a lot of different things and that a lot of times they can easily exaggerate. So by breaking down that wall with the client, by letting them know that you understand the journey and you know that people are oftentimes saying a lot of big claims, it helps you connect with them and it helps you get a real answer and stand out in their mind. Don't be afraid of the truth. Don't be afraid of those hard questions. That is what is going to help you land clients. And as these objections come up, I want to give you some examples of ways you can handle them. So when objections come up about the price, a lot of times this will happen after you provide that written quote. The customer might just say something like, the price is too high. And instead of disagreeing with them right off the bat and doing all of those things that don't make a profitable freelancer, what you want to do is you want to approach it in a way where you're handling that objection. And this is how you can handle a price objection. You can say, sir or ma'am, I know the price is high. Everyone I have ever spoken to at this point in time says that. But here's the thing. Once you realize the return on investment you're going to get with the Google Ads services I provide, it will all start to make sense for you. And then I can even go into an example of my most recent e-commerce client that I got a 300% return on ad spend for in the first few months of management. From there, I can go into the call to action and say, how does that sound? Let's make it happen. So automatically, I'm showing the value I'm providing and I'm handling that objection once I hear that. And it needs to be an automatic thing based on the previous steps I just taught you. Once you have those common objections down and the different ways to handle them based on the personality type you're dealing with, you can pull this out of your pocket and handle objections and close more deals than you ever thought possible. It's not just about the product. As you learned in the price myth, clients don't just buy services. They're investing in way more than that. They're also thinking, is this freelancer going to take care of me? Are they going to provide that expert level service? Another price objection you might get is when a client says, another freelancer I spoke to is cheaper than you. This is saying that your price is too high without really saying it. And I like to handle this by saying something to this effect. Okay, well, which one of us would you rather work with if our prices were the same? If the customer says yours, then you can say, okay, well, why? What are the reasons you would rather work with me? And then once they give you a couple reasons, they maybe will say, oh, well, I really like your proposal. I really like your portfolio. You can say, oh, well, why else? Why else? And then they might say something like, oh, well, you reached out really quick, etc., etc. From there, you can say, okay, sir or ma'am, well, then you can see why I'm worth more money or why we are worth more money if you're working on an agency or a team. Let's make this happen. That's how you can start moving past these price objections. Because what have you just done right there? You've made the customer see the value that you provide, and that makes the customer sell themselves. It justifies why you're worth more money, and it's a psychological way you can handle price objections. On the other side of the token, if the client says they want to work with the other freelancer, you can just ask them the same questions and ask them, well, why would you want to work with me? Why are you speaking with me then? And then you can say, oh, well, you actually want to work with the competitors if we're the same rate? Then why is that? And then you can say, what is it that I don't have or that we don't have? And then from there, you can go into another demonstration. You can say, oh, okay, well, I actually do provide this service, or I actually have someone on my team or another freelancer. I know that I help with this service. So make sure that they're on the right product. Sometimes a price objection can come up because the client is actually asking you for the wrong service. So don't be afraid to ask the buyer the price from the competitor. Ask them, well, what does the other freelancer charge? What value do you see with them? This all goes into asking the hard questions and staying on the path of the truth and of ethics. You're telling them exactly why you're more expensive, and then if they're trying to say that another competitor is a better fit for them, then ask them why they're still talking to you in the first place. A lot of times you'll start to see that there's more reasons to it, and that they might actually like you more than another freelancer, but the other freelancer's rate is lower. So you just need to build that value in their mind why you're worth it. Another type of objection you might get is the demonstration objection. And this might happen after that first client call on the freelance sales process, right before you go into the sales demo. And when this happens, the client or the customer might say, oh, I already know all about specific service you provide. I just need your price. When this happens, you want to say something to the effect of this. Sir or ma'am, I understand. I'm with you. I didn't ask that I show you all the things you already know. I just want to show you some unseen benefits of this new Google Ads feature or whatever service you provide, such as, and then you can go into explaining it and giving some curiosity. So in this example, I said, such as some new keyword ranking and local search tools. It would be doing both of us a disservice if I did not take the time to show you it completely. And then you can go into a time objection in this demonstration objection as well and say it will only take 10 minutes of your time and I can answer questions as we go. How does that sound? What this does is it shows that you're not shortcutting the freelance sales process. You're making sure that you're showing the client the full demonstration, because as we went over in the previous sections, it all builds on each other. You need to know what the scope of work is. You need to make sure they're on the right product. And if you just start skipping steps of the freelance sales process, just because it's hard and objections come up, you're not going to be able to have success and land clients. So if a customer continues to try to talk you out of it, use different ways to handle that objection like this one so you can get them on that demo and make sure that they're a good client for you before you send them a quote. Next, another way you can close and negotiate more deals as a freelancer is to assume the sale. And by assuming the sale, I mean that you are subconsciously making that potential client think that you already have their relationship. You already have that sale with them. And a lot of times, what you have to do to assume the sale is to just ask for the sale. A lot of freelancers don't ask for the sale soon enough, and they put it off till the very end when the client has to bring it up. But that's not what you want to do. So many people are doing this and they're missing out on building that mental ownership and connection with that potential client's relationship. Use ownership words such as your. For example, what you can do is if you're servicing websites or building websites, you can say, "When would you like to take ownership of your new website?" That's a way you can start to show that you're already assuming the sale and you're assuming that the client is interested in you because they're still speaking with you, and you're showing them that you're eager to get started and close the deal and move the process forward. This will work on multiple different levels in their mind. If they do notice that you're doing it, they'll know that you're serious. And if they don't notice, even at that subconscious level, it's going to make them more likely to do business with you. This is just like when you go and buy a car or test drive a car. They're going to use words like, "How do you like your new car?" before you have even bought it. When I was buying my last car, I was driving it and the salesperson made me pull up to the gas station and fill it up and just said, "Yeah, let's fill up your tank real quick. This one's on me." And he was already assuming the sale before we even did any negotiating. And obviously, as a freelancer and a marketing guy and salesperson, I knew what was happening. But even though I knew what was happening, it still showed me that they were going above and beyond to get my business. And that's what you want to do when you're negotiating with these high-ticket clients. Next, be committed when you do everything as a freelancer. Have 100% conviction and act from a place where you are so fired up and you have so much passion that it just shines through to the world. This is how you're going to go from an average freelancer to an amazingly successful one. You need to be a super freak in your presentations, and people need to just see and feel that your energy is through the roof. Now, this doesn't mean that you're acting psychotic or you're doing anything that's outrageous, but it just means that you're so above and beyond the norm that it stands out, that it gets their attention. So a lot of times in freelancing and in sales, a lot of people get stuck in the same process, they use the same sort of words, and it becomes very repetitive. And you want to get their attention. You want to shock them in a good way. You want them to consider doing business with you on a long-term basis. So you need to make sure that you're always doing things with 100% conviction. If you're doing a demo or you're on a client call and you're not 100% sold on yourself or your product, that will shine through. And you want to focus on the benefits and the advantages you provide. As a profitable freelancer, you want to take the focus off of the price and onto the value that you're providing. And you can also focus on the benefits and advantages of the service or the platform that you work on. You want to focus on everything that the client is going to get and how you are going to solve their problem. The price is just what they are going to pay you to get that done. But once they're sold on all of the advantages and the value you provide is when you are going to actually close that deal. Some ways you can start negotiating with value and not with price is by selling yourself and not just the service or product that you're selling. Sell yourself as a freelancer. So when you're speaking about the service and the value you provide, make sure to show the value that you bring to the table as a freelancer. So this means, how dedicated are you? How good at communicating are you? How passionate are you about continuing to learn and develop your craft? You need to sell that to the client. Sell to them that you're an expert in this field and you're never stopping that learning process. This will make them more comfortable and more likely that you close that deal. Also, don't focus on the product or the service. Remember, that can be bought anywhere else from any other freelancer. So focus on the value you're providing. For example, if you're providing Google Ads, don't focus on the actual product, on the campaign, for example, in this negotiating process. Focus on what the results are going to be. Focus on the value you're going to provide, how your expert level skills will provide a higher return on investment than working with another freelancer. That is how you can start to negotiate with value and not just on the product or the price that you're providing. and make yourself part of the value that your customers are buying. Like in that first example, you're not just selling your product or service, you're also selling yourself. So add that into the value that the customers are getting. That will help them understand why they should choose you over someone else. Next, if the client keeps insisting on a lower price, what you can do is, instead of lowering the price, is you can deliver more value. So you can offer them more services, for example, or a longer time period of management. But instead of lowering the price, you're increasing the value. That's what's important here. That shows the client that you're not just going to budge and lower your prices just because they asked, but it does show that you're willing to do some negotiating here. And what you're doing is you're throwing in more value, which means you're dedicating more of your time and your energy to that client. This is a great way to negotiate, and it will help you keep your prices at that profitable point. Lastly, give the client upfront free value to prove that your price is worth it. And this is all a function of that winning proposal formula. When you start to deliver the work in the proposal, you start to show them how much value that you provide on the sales demo and on the call. And what it does is it moves you into that closing range. That's when you're done negotiating, you've proven all the value, you're showing them, not just telling them. And then when you ask for the close, you're much more likely to get it. So here are some questions to control the close when you're ready to ask for it. Are there any changes or additions to your website templates before we address the figures? This gets you to that next step where you can go into talking about price, sending the quote, and closing the deal. You can also ask, may you allow me to provide you with figures that will make it easy to say yes to your new website? If the client says something like, oh, I'm not making a decision today, you can say, I know you're not expecting to buy a website today, but can I show you how easy it is for us to do business together? You can also ask things like, what do you think your customers will think of your new website? That's using a couple different key success factors here. It's assuming the sale, and it's also putting the client in their customer's shoes, and you're showing them the value that you're going to provide. So you're taking the focus off of that website that you're providing, and you're putting the focus on what the customers are going to think of it. That's how you can start controlling the close with these advanced questions. Another thing you can ask is, if the client's in a hurry, you can say, I understand you're in a hurry. Can we review the figures to get you your new website built fast? So in this example, let's say you've already sent them the quote. The client says they're interested, but they said they're in a hurry. So you can agree with them, say, I understand you're in a hurry, and let them know that you can work fast. You're adaptable. Let them know, let's review the figures so you can get started. Lastly, let's say the client says that they still need to interview more freelancers. You can say, I appreciate that you've not interviewed all of your proposals yet. May I suggest what I can do for you, and I'll leave the final decision up to you? That's a way that you're opening the door to that close. Even if you don't get it right then, you're controlling the close, you're controlling the process, and you're doing your own form of negotiating as a profitable freelancer. This is all ways you can control the close and land clients. Here's a quote from Mark Cuban. To be a successful entrepreneur, you have to work knowing that someone else is out there working 24 hours a day with one goal, to take your business away. What this quote tells me is that you need to be sold on yourself. When you're sold on yourself and you're so passionate about being a freelancer and helping these business owners solve their problems with the skill you provide, that's when you break through to that next level. And that's when you become a truly successful and profitable freelancer in every area and meaning of the word. So now you know how to negotiate and how to close deals as a freelancer. I look forward to seeing you in the next lesson. This lesson is called How to Structure Profitable Deals, and it will show you how to set up the terms, the scope of work, and the payments on Upwork projects. The reason this lesson is important is because you need to know how to structure freelance deals so you can, number one, protect yourself, And number two, so you can put yourself in a position to be the most profitable. In this lesson, we are going to cover hourly versus fixed price projects. These are the two different types of projects that Upwork provides. An hourly project is one where it's an ongoing position and you submit your hours on a weekly basis. Upwork has two different features for this, which I will cover, and the fixed price projects are projects that aren't based on hours but are based on the work to be completed. These are usually split into what is called milestones, which I will also be going into more detail on. Next, we will discuss the difference between short-term projects and long-term projects, and I'll be going over why you should actually be targeting both of these, even if you're just starting out. Then I will go into more detail about how the milestones and the escrow on Upwork work when you're doing one of those fixed price projects. Upwork is an intuitive platform, but it's helpful to know how you can structure this and how everything is set up, so when you go to do it, you know exactly what to do. And we will then go over how to understand the scope of work with a potential client. This will make sure that it's a good project for you, and it will also help qualify them because it will get you both on the exact same page of what is expected from both parties and what needs to be delivered by you for the price that you are charging. Next, we will go over how you can start to determine what to charge clients, what to bid on different projects. And this goes into a lot of the data that's already available for you on the platform, which we'll be diving into. And then lastly, we will cover how you can provide a final written quote. This is the last thing that you provide after you go on that first client call, you do the sales demonstration, and you've gotten everything that the client wants on paper. This is where you can provide multiple different options, and it will serve as that next touch point towards closing the deal. Now let's look at what an hourly job looks like when you are in the proposal process. So when you're bidding on an hourly job, you're able to put in the hourly rate that you want to bid. It will also show you what your hourly profile rate is that you set, but you don't have to stick to that. So when you're setting your profile rate, you want to make sure that it's around the same rate that you're bidding for jobs at. For example, you don't want your profile rate to say 100 and then you're bidding on a job at $20 an hour. That's not going to look good for the client. They're going to wonder why you're only bidding $20 and why on your profile you're saying that you're worth $100. So be accurate here with what you were normally going to charge for that hourly rate, because the client can and will see your profile. Next, Upwork then shows you that 20% service fee that they take out, and then it'll show you how much you'll receive in your bank. This is just a little helpful calculation that they provide. And remember, this is just on that first 500, and after you get over that 500, that service fee begins to drop. If you look on the right, you can see that it says it includes Upwork hourly protection. And it's important to understand that the hourly protection on Upwork is only available if you use their app. And they have an app that you download on your computer and it records what you're doing basically. So I don't actually use that because I don't want my information and my client's info and stuff like that recorded. So I actually use the manual function when I'm doing hourly jobs. And the manual function allows you to go in on a week by week and a day by day basis, and you just log in the work that you complete. In my experience, most clients are more than happy with this, and most don't even know that there is that desktop recording version. So if you're working with a client like I teach in this academy, you shouldn't have to worry about getting that Upwork hourly protection, because you'll be working with someone where you both know exactly what is to be expected, and it's going to be a good relationship. So that is what I suggest. But if you do want to take advantage of that Upwork hourly protection, I suggest looking further into the terms at the time, and you can learn how you can take advantage of that. Either way, the part I love about hourly projects is that you have that ability to bill them, and their card just gets charged on a weekly basis. So every single week, you're getting paid for your services. And you're never in that position where you need to chase down payments or you need to send invoices and make sure they all get paid. That might sound like a good problem to have, but I'll tell you from experience, when you're chasing clients down for money and you have to send weekly invoices with detailed things on them, it can start to eat away at your time and your productivity. So even if you're doing an hourly project on the platform, Upwork still helps you with that entire process. Next, this is the layout when you are bidding on a fixed price project. So you can choose here. It'll ask you, do you want to be paid by milestone or by project? So in this example, I have it just chosen to by project because there wasn't really a milestone breakdown for this specific job. For example, if it was a larger project that you could break down into different segments, that's where you can include those milestones and you can break up your bid into different sections. Another way that you can segment it is if you'd like to get a down payment, for example. You can also do that in the form of milestones. And what happens is Upwork, once the job is approved, will have the client already pay that money to Upwork, and Upwork keeps it in what is called an Upwork escrow account. Now, the cool thing about the Upwork fixed price protection is that when you do these type of projects, you pretty much are guaranteed to get paid if you're doing the work for that milestone. So this is really good for projects like websites and multiple phase projects because you can make sure that you're getting paid every step of the way. And it also helps avoid that scope creep. And that basically means when the client starts asking you to do things that are outside of what was already agreed upon. Taking advantage of the milestones is something I definitely suggest you do, and taking advantage of fixed price jobs in general is a great way to get your start on Upwork. Another reason this is good is because if you're working for smaller projects to begin with, it looks better on your profile to have jobs for even $50, $75, $100 as opposed to it does having jobs where you worked for a very low hourly rate. So as we will go deeper into this course, I will show you how you can move more towards monthly retainers and charging on a monthly basis. But when you're first starting out, these are the different ways you can apply to a job. You can either go the hourly rate or the fixed price rate. And this is all set up by the client. So you don't get to choose this. The client chooses whether they want to pay hourly or if they want to pay by project or by milestone. As you go through your job applications and sending out proposals, keep this in mind as you look at each job. And Upwork is also a great place for many different types of projects, from complex projects to shorter term projects. There's pretty much opportunity for everyone out there. Keep in mind though that short-term projects might lead to more work and long-term relationships. I've seen this happen a lot, especially with some of my clients that I currently still have. It started out as a short-term position, and sometimes they'll even write this in the proposal and they'll say, this is a short-term position, but if you do well, there is opportunity for long-term work. The more you start to look for that, I guarantee you'll start to see that a lot of the short-term projects also have that ability to turn to a long-term position. And long-term projects could be anything from an agency looking for a steady addition to their team, all the way to a business owner looking to hire a long-term marketing person. So keep that in mind because you could still start with a long-term contract and you can start out with a trial period or a phase 1. It's all up to you, and that's why freelancing is such an amazing thing. It allows you to be in control of what you want to work on and what kind of projects you want to go after. When you're working on the milestones and the escrow, this is what it looks like. You can enter in each different milestone and it'll let you add as many as you want. From there, you can break down the due date and the amount of that specific milestone. So when you're on these fixed price projects, the first thing is that you and the client both agree on the terms and the milestones. Then the client will deposit the money for that first milestone. And then once that is complete and the client approves the work, that money gets released to you. And then before you start working on the next part of the project, that's when they put the money in for the second milestone. So you're always covered here. It protects you and it even protects the client because Upwork will make sure that the work is delivered if the client doesn't accept the project. So this helps you out so much. You get to get paid throughout the project and it looks good on your profile. And once a milestone is complete, all you do is submit the work and Upwork handles that whole process for you of sending it to the client and having them approve everything. It's only the click of a few buttons. This is so much easier than having to figure out how a client wants to get billed, whether you have to email them, whether you need to send them a physical check. Upwork takes all of that confusion out of it and it helps both you and the client. In this example here, I broke it down to a project start and a project complete. So for this, using that same $100 project example, you can ask for 50% down and then you can say a 50% completion milestone after the project is complete. It's up to you how you want to structure this. And once again, it will show you underneath how much you'll receive after the Upwork fees are taken out. Next, understanding the scope of work is a very important part of your freelance journey because as you're starting to work with clients and you're on these phone calls and you're on these sales demos, understanding exactly what the client wants is what will dictate how successful you are going to be. The truth is in freelancing, scope creep is a big problem. And scope creep is when you start out doing one thing and over time a client starts asking for more and more. And I learned this the hard way. Some of my initial clients to begin with, I didn't have that clear scope of work down on paper. So I would use things like digital marketing and social media advertising when I should have used more specific terms such as Facebook advertising and website design, and even going further than that and speaking about how frequently I will be doing things and what is included in that project. Having those clear written deliverables allows you to go back to something that was agreed upon in writing. And I like to keep this all through Upwork messaging so then you can show them an exact message on Upwork of what you guys agreed on initially. This will help you develop those clear deliverables and stick to them throughout the course of the project. If the client wants something that's outside of that scope, that's no problem. That gives you an opportunity now to upsell them and offer an additional service. When you're on calls with potential clients and you're on sales demonstrations and you're in that qualifying period, always ask them how they are going to measure success. It might sound simple, but in reality, it's more complicated. Get specific with this. If they say they just want more leads, ask them how many more leads is success to them. Is it 100 leads per month? Is it 200? Is it 1,000? And then go deeper. Ask them how much they're able to afford for each lead. Is $50 a lead good? Is 10? Is 5? It all depends on the business you're speaking to. Because every product and service being sold has a different profit margin. So you need to understand how you're going to measure success. So when you go and start to work on the project, there's no surprises down the line. You and the client need to know exactly what is going to be delivered on both ends. So if the client needs to be the one to help deliver content and photos for you to market on their website, that needs to be in the scope of work, and it needs to say that you were only working with content that the client provides. This will help you if, for example, the client comes to you and says that you're not providing any content for the work. And you can go back and show them exactly where you agreed that they are the ones that are going to provide that for you. It's very helpful because number one, people forget what they say. Number two, it's very easy to try to get more out of a freelancer once they're already working on a project. And number three, usually it's easy for a freelancer to just try to help that client out because they want to secure that relationship for the long term. But what I'm telling you is to not get yourself in this position and make sure you understand how success is going to be measured with that specific client on that specific project. Then, stay dedicated to being big on communication. Don't hold anything back. Make sure you ask all the questions you need until they answer everything you need to know in those two previous points. So if they're not giving you clear answers on how success is measured or what exactly they need you to provide, it's not time to give them a quote yet. If they keep pushing you on price and you still can't get those answers, it's showing you they're not ready to even move forward yet. It's another way to understand what the scope of work is and how close you are to landing that client. Next, let's move into determining what to charge. Now that you understand the entire scope of work for the project and you understand how success is going to be measured, now it's time to settle on a couple prices for the different services you are going to offer. As I stated earlier, never just give one price for one product or for one service. You want to give multiple options to the client so they can decide what's the best fit for them. I like to provide 3 different options for each potential project. And what I do is I provide it in an incremental basis. So I'll start with what I can provide for the cheapest amount, and then for the middlemost amount, and then for the most amount. That also helps the client understand that based on what they are going to pay, they are going to get a different amount of value. This helps you get away from always being tied to hourly positions and helps you get paid for the value that you're providing. So when you're determining what to charge a potential client, it's a combination of a few factors. You want to look at what the client's budget is that they posted, the length of the job, and the skill level that they're looking for. So if it's an hourly position, they'll normally put a range there of what it is that they're looking for, and you can start to combine all those different factors and understand what you can get away with charging for the value you provide. So for this specific example, they're looking for expert level freelancers and they're looking to pay $50 to $100 an hour for that freelancer. And the project length is less than a month and the hours are to be determined. What this tells me is you could charge close to that $100 rate if you're able to provide that level of value for them. As you're going through and submitting proposals for projects, remember to keep the client's budget in mind. If you completely ignore this and you bid something that's double their budget, the client is not going to take you seriously and they're going to throw your proposal in the garbage. You also want to look at the activity level on the job. See how much competition there is. See how many proposals are submitted, how many freelancers are being interviewed, how many invites have been sent, and then you can get an idea for what the competition level is. From there, when you have the paid plan, you can see what the competitors have bid for the project. So for this specific example, you can see that the high bid is $100 right at the top of the client's budget, and the low bid is $50 at the bottom, and the average bid comes in right at $77.25. So if I was bidding on this project and I knew I was a great fit, I would probably bid somewhere around $80 or $90. That allows you to come under that top range, but you're still showing you're worth more than the low and average range. This is a great way to price your hourly bids. Lastly, look at how much the client has spent on Upwork, and most importantly, if it's an hourly project, what their hourly rate paid is. So in this example, this job looks like the client is willing to pay those expert level premiums to have their problem solved. As you can see, their average hourly rate paid is $80.94. And even better, they've paid for 123 hours of freelancers' help on the platform. That's over $9,000 they've spent, over 9 hires, and over 14 jobs posted with 65% of those hired. This is all information you can use to understand and determine what price you should be bidding for each specific job. In conclusion, what you decide to bid and to charge for your projects is all up to what the market will pay for it. It's about the value you provide, the problems you solve, and what clients are willing to pay for that. So keep that in mind as you're building your proposals out and as you're going through this process. You want to stay in the best range for success possible. So stay within the client's budget, make sure you're looking at their entire payment profile, and bid a competitive rate for the value that you provide. You can also use the sample quote template that is included with this lesson, and it's going to show you how you can summarize the project, you can outline your approach and the timeline, and then provide multiple options along with the prices for each. Here's a sneak peek of what that looks like. Of course, you can expand on this, but this is the template that will help you understand how you can start to structure your written quotes. This is a document that you send to the potential client after you've had that first sales demo and that first client call. Always, always, always remember to present your quote in writing. People believe what they see. Always email and Upwork message this over to your client. Talk is cheap. Don't pitch this over the phone. You can speak with them after you've given them this so you can negotiate and close the deal. But the reality is, in business, when things are written down, it helps validate them and it helps the client see things in writing. It also shines the light on the positive because you're going forward, you're putting together a document and you're providing all of this value of how you're going to approach the project, which shows the client ultimately that you are dedicated and you are driven. Even just writing things down will help you close more deals. And now you know how to structure profitable freelance deals. I'll see you in the next lesson. This lesson is called How to Be an Excellent Communicator, and it will show you how to provide amazing customer service through best practice communication tactics. The reason this lesson is important is because communication is what will make or break everything you do in freelancing. And it all begins with that initial outreach, but it doesn't stop there. Being able to communicate well throughout the entire freelance sales process will have a direct impact on your success. Being able to use different communication tools, phone calls, texts, emails, video chats, etc., is vital for your success. Understand how important it is for you to remain in constant contact with all of your clients and potential clients. That is how you can become a profitable freelancer, because you need to keep that line of communication open and show those clients and potential clients that you are going to be there with them for the long run. That is how you can build long-term clients and profitable relationships. In this lesson, we are going to go over the first call you have with a client. This is after you send out that proposal, the client gets back in touch with you, and you schedule a time to get on the call. I'm going to show you how to handle that first call and different ways you can approach it so you have the most success possible. Then I will show you how you can approach the sales demonstration, followed by rules for profitable phone calls. Here I'm going to show you how you can focus on the right things when you're on these phone calls so you can move the freelance sales process forward. After that, we will get into qualifying leads. This is another important part of freelancing because you need to make sure you're only working with the best clients that are a good match for you. This will lead to good reviews and more work. If you work with the wrong clients and you don't take the time to qualify them first, you're jeopardizing your reputation and you're not spending that time where you should be, which is on high-ticket clients that you've already qualified. Lastly, I will cover how to effectively follow up. The follow-up is one of the most crucial parts of any sales process because most sales don't happen on those first few interactions. They happen after a few follow-ups have been consistently maintained. When you continue to follow up with clients and potential clients, you're showing them that you're hungry for their business, you're not going anywhere, and that you're confident you can solve the problem they have. That is what is ultimately going to get you paid on a consistent basis. Now let's go over the first client meeting. The goal of your entire proposal is to get this secured. And in order to do that, you need to write an amazing proposal, which you've already done by this point, because now you're on the call with them. And on this call, you need to keep it very simple. Make the focus on them. Introduce yourself, put the buyer at ease, stay calm, and then start to get on some common ground with them. Once the buyer turns the control over to you, that's when you can go into explaining more of your proposal and going into more detail on how you are a good fit. So the first thing is to be yourself and act calm throughout the process. Just remember, these are hot leads that need your help, and you're there to just solve their problem. So don't be intimidated. Just get on the call with them, stay calm, make sure you're breathing, and you're not getting too emotional or excited, or you're not cutting them off too much. Make sure you show them that you're the best fit for them because you're there to hear how you can help them and solve their problems. And you also want to remain professional the whole time. So this isn't just about keeping it just about business, but you do want to act normal, act rational. Don't be overly thankful that they took the call with you or anything like that. You don't want to do anything that throws them off. So just really build a relationship with them. Get to know them a little bit, ask them about their business. Keep it very focused on the professional items at hand. You will get better at this as you go through your freelance journey. But as they start to ask some questions that might be a little off topic, make sure you guide the call back on the journey so you can get to the next step of the process. And that's exactly why you need to use a call script during the call. Using a call script that has relevant questions on it and different things that you want to get answered by the client is vital for you to have success on the first client meeting call. So have it open on your HubSpot CRM. You can also have a pen and paper handy just to take quick notes. And the HubSpot CRM is located in the Profitable Tools and Apps bonus. So you can access that and start taking notes on all clients during the call. This will also help you tremendously when you're on the call and it lacks direction, because then you can just look at your call script that you wrote and you can ask the next question on it. This helps you progress the call forward. If you didn't have this, you'd end up on some tangent and you'd never stay on the right track. In addition to staying on track, you also can use the call script to take notes and write down any additional next steps that you need to do. Whenever things happen, it's human nature to say, oh, I'll remember that, I'll do that. But if you don't write it down in the moment, chances are something else will distract you and you'll never remember to do that, especially on that first client meeting, because you need to make sure you're writing everything down. That is what you're going to use for your follow-up, and that is the info you're going to use to close the deal. Then talk about similar projects you've done. When you're on this call, think about any accomplishments or similar clients or projects you've worked on, and talk about why you're passionate about this skill. Don't get too involved in any previous details of clients or projects, but just talk about them overall and talk about how you help businesses with the skill you provide. Make sure that your passion shines through here, because this is what a lot of freelancers also lack, is that passion. They're focused so much on getting the deal closed, getting the client's money, and sometimes they take a step away from just being personable and letting their passion for their skill set shine through. Another way you can have success in the first client meeting is to continue asking questions about the client's business. Once they turn the floor over to you and it's your turn to give suggestions and tell them what you think about everything, take that time to not only focus on your suggestions, but to also turn it back on them and ask them more questions. This shows them that you're extremely interested. And this is also used to help you qualify them and learn more about their business. The more questions you ask, the more you'll learn. You'll be amazed at this. They'll tell you what's important to them. All you have to do is just ask questions and make sure you get an answer and listen to them. Once you get those answers, like we just covered, make sure you write those down in your call script document so you don't forget them later on. Next, after you've asked them questions, qualified the client, and learned more about the project at hand, then you can start to give a recommendation of how you want to tackle this, your recommended plan of action. What that does is it shows them that you have some specifics put together about the project and that you already mapped some of it out. This goes above and beyond a lot of the times because freelancers on average don't do this. They don't think that far ahead. They'll focus on what the client wrote in the job description, but they won't map out an entire plan of action, different timetables, and things of that nature. That is why you can still be a profitable freelancer even though you might be starting out or there's a lot of competition. It's because you need to know how to approach these things in the right way. And if you start to use all these different tactics we're going over in that first client meeting, your chances of closing the deal are going to go through the roof. If you just try to wing this, however, your chances are going to go down dramatically. So take the time before every client meeting and start to put all of these things on paper in your CRM so you can make sure you're hitting every single point. And this might sound simple, but you need to get their response. When you're asking them questions, when you're recommending your plans of action, if they don't give you a response and they just change the topic or ask you another question, make sure you're not moving on until you get their thoughts on what you recommended or what you proposed to them. Because this is another way that will show you where you're at in the sales process. If you get their response and they say, "That sounds awesome, I'm ready to get going," you know it's time to move into the close. But if they start to provide some objections, that's when you know where you need to provide more information on. Also, you can tell them that you can put together a demonstration which will show anything in your proposal in more detail for them. This is a great way to set up a second meeting and make sure that you're moving that freelance sales process forward. That leads us right into the final step, which is establishing those next steps. Once you've gotten their response, once you start to throw some ideas for next steps out there, make sure you repeat them. Make sure you read them out loud and you say, "This is what I'm going to do and this is what you are going to do." And that is another way to show the client you're very serious about this, you're outlining what both of you need to do, and it's another way to get any last-minute objections from the client. So after you've gotten their responses, you've asked them a bunch of questions to qualify them, you've learned about the project, and you've already started to get some ideas for what the next steps are, then you have to establish those. And I like to do that by repeating it out loud what my next steps are and what the client's next steps are. So if the next step is to get a demonstration ready, I will say that and I'll secure the time for that next call. On the other hand, if it's in the client's hand and I've already sent them enough information and the client said that they have 5 other meetings with other freelancers, what I would say is, okay, on my end, I'm waiting to hear back on you after you've spoken to those 5 other freelancers to see if I'm the best fit. By establishing that next step, you're showing them that you're a true business person and you're making sure that both of you know what to do next. So many times in the sales process, things get messy, things get confusing, people get distracted. So everything you can do to just repeat what the next steps are will help you get to that next level of ultimately closing that deal. That is when you can move on to that second client call, which is more of a demonstration. For this second call, the sales demonstration call, you can go into more detail about the specifics of the project. For this, I like to do screen shares with the client and show them exactly how I will go about their project. Walk them through everything, show them how different things work. I like using Crankwheel for this or Google Hangouts. Those are both in the Profitable Tools and Apps handout, and those are softwares that allow you to share your screen easily with clients, and all they need is to just click a link on a phone or a computer. And this is where you can get away from using words and start to show them by showing them either reports, previous samples of work, or some sort of graphic presentation. You can even add the client's logo to it and go above and beyond. This will separate you from the pack because very few freelancers are going into that much detail, and this will help you win jobs at a very high percentage. On this sales demonstration, you can walk the prospect through how you are going to approach the project. Talk about why you suggested everything you did and why it makes sense for their specific situation. And then from there, you can go ahead and ask them if they're ready for you to start. If they're not, you can go into more detail. But if they are, you've just taken the power back of the whole sales process and you put it in a position where you're showing them everything you can offer and you're continuing to ask for their business. If they don't ask, when can you get started? Then what you can say is something to the effect of, we've had a few conversations. I feel we're on the same page. What will it take for us to get started on this? Don't be afraid to confront and ask for the close. A lot of times, it's as simple as just asking for it. So don't leave that out. Don't forget to actually ask for the sale. And that is why the sales demonstration is so important. It helps you not only separate yourself from the pack, but it shows the client what you can provide by making them sit down and watch a demonstration. This way, there's no questions that can get left unanswered. And when you start to work with them, both parties know exactly what to expect. Now, let's discuss the rules for profitable phone calls. The first is to never disagree with a client. Even if they're saying something you don't necessarily agree with or that isn't true, find a way to see it from their perspective and then to give your point of view. When you flat out disagree with a client, that is a red flag, and it shows them that your ego is too big. You're just worried about being right. So don't be worried about being right. Make sure you're never disagreeing and you're showing them that you're understanding where they're coming from. This will help you land way more clients. Next, never handle a call unprepared. Never try to do a call when you don't have your call script pulled up or you're preoccupied doing something else. 100% of your attention needs to be on the call with the client. And this goes for anything you're doing with clients, whether it's a video call, just a phone call, even if it's a conference call with multiple people. Make sure you're focused and you're ready to answer questions on the spot. Next, never give one price for one product. Always provide options in a written format and avoid giving the price on the phone. When you give different options, you're showing them that you can provide different levels of value depending on how much the client wants to pay. The next rule for profitable phone calls is to always extract as much information as you can from the client. Even if it's simple things like asking them why they decided to hire a freelancer now and if they've hired anyone for this type of work in the past. You'll be surprised how much they open up and tell you, and it will also show you what's most important to them and what you can focus on moving forward. You can also get information such as their cell phone number, email address, and different ways to contact them. Don't hesitate gathering this info because this is how you're going to follow up at a massive scale. You're going to get creative and you're going to follow up on every different medium and platform you can. That's how you can separate yourself from the pack and be at the right place at the right time when that client's ready to hire. And next, never argue with the client. So if a client gets upset at something you did and you know you're in the right, once again, put your ego aside. Don't argue with the client. Give them some space. If it's through email, don't respond right away. If it's on a phone call and they're getting really worked up over something, you can always say, you know what, emotions are running a little high right now. Let's schedule another call. But ultimately, make sure you're never arguing with the client because once emotions get involved, people don't act rationally. They just act out of emotion. And that's not where you want to come from. As a profitable freelancer, everything you do needs to be well thought out using the profitable freelance sales process. That's how you're going to have success. Next, never keep the client on one product or one service. This is how you can qualify clients and see what skill set you can offer them. There are statistics out there that show that over half of the time, clients are actually looking for a different service than they initially posted. They might not know this, but that is where the freelancer with the skill set and the expertise comes in. So if a client says they want a specific skill, for example, let's say they just said they want Facebook ads, offer them Instagram ads and Google ads and Bing ads and see how they respond to them. They might not even know exactly what they want. They might have thought that Instagram ads was different than Facebook, but in reality, they're both on the same platform. So this opens up the door not only to more services you can provide, but it also opens the door to a long-term relationship because you're showing that client you're there to help them and you're giving them different options for them to choose from. The next rule for profitable phone calls is to text the client while you're on the phone with them, if possible. Texting has an immense power to help you close deals. It can help you increase your appointments by up to 500%. And if you text a client while you're on the call with them, it can increase your conversion by 328%. When you text during an interaction, this is the most memorable because when you text them while they're on the phone, you can tell them to save your number in their phone, and you can also make sure that they got it. This also helps build more relevance, and it helps you stand out from the pack. Not a lot of freelancers are doing this, and once you get that information, that cell phone number, that is going to be one of the most valuable pieces of info you can use later on. So if you're speaking to the client, you can ask them if they're on their cell phone. Most of the time they are, and if they are, that's when you can send that text right over. If they say that they're not and they're on an office phone, that's when you can ask them for their cell number. Remember the part we said about always get info. Don't be afraid to ask them what their cell number is, and then if they ask why, you can be one step ahead and already include that in your question. When you do this, you're reaching the client wherever they are because people always have their cell phone on them. So that gives you the ability to reach them no matter where they are at any time of the day, even if they're not at their desk. Moving on to the next rule, always remember to qualify the client. Even if they seem like the best client and the budget for the project seems high and the phone calls are going well, make sure you qualify them first. Make sure they're on the right services and that you're the best fit for them. When everything is looking great, taking this extra step and taking this extra precaution also shows them that you're a serious business person and you really want to make sure that you're the best fit for each other. Next, never brag about yourself. Clients want to hear about their project and how you can help them. Focus your energy on how you can solve their problems. This doesn't mean you can't share previous successes you've had, but don't use blanket statements like I'm really good at this or I'm amazing at that. Show them through case studies, reports, or even sales demos. But make sure you're never coming off as bragging because that is going to turn clients away. And as you're on these calls and you start to have different conversations with different personality types, try to keep all of the small talk to a minimum. High ticket clients, the ones that you should be going after and working with, have very busy schedules. Their time is extremely valuable. So that doesn't mean that you can't break the ice and get to know them a little, but always make sure you're moving the call forward by asking questions and keeping the focus on the business. Then, make sure to recap the call and state the next steps out loud. This reminds both parties what to do next and make sure the client understands what is expected. Log all of your notes in your CRM as you go through this whole process, even after the first call. You want to keep very good notes because that will help you follow up and it will help you close more clients. I like to do this to a very high extent, to the point where I write down the tone of the conversation that was had, what the client mentioned, their general outlook, whether it sounded like they were in a good mood or a bad mood. All of this is information that you will likely forget, but is vital when you start to follow up. And when you land clients, that is the information that will help you maintain them for years and years to come. And the last rule for profitable phone calls is to stay positive. I like to put a smile on my face, even though on a phone call they can't see it. It helps you stay more positive and it helps you just keep that light in your eyes and that passion in your voice. No one wants to work with a boring freelancer who isn't motivated. So make sure your voice isn't monotone and you're staying as positive as possible throughout the entire phone call. Sometimes it's easy to forget this, but remember, positivity sells and people will pay more for a positive attitude. Now that you understand how to find high-ticket clients, how to create and send winning proposals, and the rules for profitable phone calls, now let's dive deeper into how you can qualify clients. The first step is moving into a fact-finding phase. This is where you ask them questions and you start to dig into why they're hiring a freelancer in the first place. One of the biggest mistakes that freelancers and salespeople make is that they don't ask what's important to the customer. They don't ask good questions and they don't write that information down. So avoid asking bad questions that don't give you any good info. Quality questions have to be relevant about the project that they posted and about their business. You can think of it as the what, why, and how. Those are questions like what do you want to do with your business, why do you want to do it, and how do you want to do it. This will help you navigate the different categories of questions you can ask. Because our goal here when we're talking to these potential clients is to find out what their real problem is, and that's how we can solve it. Sometimes their real problem isn't what they say it is. This is also why it's important to make sure you're on the right product for them. Because if you find out what their real problem is and the service they're asking for won't solve that, that is when you can introduce what skill will solve their problem. Because they're not the expert, that's why they're hiring a freelancer. So this is where you can provide even more value and even a level of consulting before you've closed the deal. You can also ask them straight up what's most important to you when you're hiring a freelancer. Knowing the answer to this helps you close more deals and it helps them make more sense of the purchase when they hire you. All of that fact finding helps you have more info as you move forward on the calls. Then you can start to use the information you just gathered to establish what they really need. From there, you can verify by offering those other alternatives. You can do this by offering alternatives above and below what they were looking for. So you can show them ways you can help save them money, and you can show them ways where they can get even more value for a more premium price. You can ask them questions like, would you also consider option 1 and option 2? And this helps them have their brain thinking of the value you're providing. So don't just offer choices after the problem comes up. You need to initiate this. Don't wait on offering these alternatives. So once you've determined what they really need, that's when you can start to offer different ways you can help deliver that. And don't forget, over 50% of clients are asking for the wrong service or the wrong product. So by offering alternatives, you can make sure they're on the right service to start. Then you can get into asking and seeing if you're a good fit. This is where you need to get real with yourself and with the client. Ask yourself, are you going to be able to deliver the work that the client is looking for? Are you going to be able to help them solve the problem that they really need solved? And on the other end, if you do that, are they the type of client that is going to give you a 5-star review? And do they sound like a client that is going to help build a profitable freelance business for you? By answering those questions, that's how you can see if the client is a good fit, and it needs to be a good fit on both ends. During this process, you might not have the answer right away if a client's a good fit, because in the world of freelancing, there is no black and white. A lot of things lie in that gray area. So you might not know if a client's a great client from the start. And for this, I like to listen to my gut. Sometimes your gut and just your instinct will tell you things that your mind necessarily won't. So if you just have a bad feeling, or if you just have a good feeling about a client, and you don't have any other info to make another decision, go with your gut. A lot of times it's right. The other way you can continue to qualify clients is understanding that the follow-up process also is there to help you qualify them. So even after the initial call and the sales demo, you can still use follow-up to see if they're a good fit for you and to see if the services you're sending them all this info on is something they're interested in. As you follow up, it's showing that you want their business. And this is imperative to any sales process. You need to follow up. The truth is, 48% of all salespeople don't follow up. 65% of all companies don't nurture the leads that they paid for. 25% of salespeople never make a second contact. And as you start to hear these stats, also remember this one. only 2% of all sales are made on the first contact. So what you can learn is that number one, most freelancers and salespeople aren't taking the time to follow up even once, let alone multiple times. And number two, you learn that only 2% of sales are made on that first contact. So everything that helps make you money as a freelancer is going to occur after those initial calls. Think about it like this. If you get on the phone with 100 clients, only 2 of them on average are going to become your client right away. The other 98 are going to require follow-up. So understand that as you follow up, you're also using that as a way to qualify the client. This is a stat that stood out to me that I know is going to be helpful for you. Because if you can follow up within the first 60 seconds after you contact someone or after they contact you, your chances of conversion go up by 320%. Speed is certainty, and people follow certainty and speed. So therefore, speed is power. If you get an Upwork message, if you get an invitation to a job, if you get a call or a text from a client, if you can get back to them within the first 60 seconds, you are going to skyrocket your chances for actually obtaining that relationship with them. It shows you are so serious about what you offer and the value you want to provide that you're there to get back to them in under a minute. So now you know how to be an excellent communicator, so you can use this on your entire freelance journey. This lesson is called How to Create Winning Proposals, and it will show you how to separate yourself from the competition so you can stand out and land clients. I'm so excited for this lesson because this will be where I show you exactly how I structure my proposals and how I land clients on a consistent basis. The reason this lesson is important is because in order to be a profitable freelancer, you need to create proposals that actually work. So many people don't have success with freelancing because they don't know how to send proposals that get the attention of clients. It's all about being able to stand out and to make the client want to get in touch with you to learn more. From there, you go through the rest of the freelance sales process that I taught. You will be competing with a bunch of other freelancers on every project that you go after. So if you don't separate yourself, you're just going to be wasting your time with these proposals. I learned this the hard way because I used to not put the amount of time required into each proposal because I thought the more I sent out, the better. But in reality, that's not the way it is. You need to spend the time and you need to focus on quality over quantity. And that is exactly what I'm going to teach you in this lesson. I'm going to show you step by step how to create winning proposals so you can go out there and land clients on Upwork on a consistent basis. We will be covering the overall proposal format, the cover letter, the winning proposal formula, client questions, proposal attachments, key success factors, how proposals look from the client side, and examples of proposals. Everything I cover in this lesson is also included in the winning proposal formula handout. Make sure to refer to this whenever you need guidance on how to craft a winning proposal. First, let's go over the proposal settings. This is where you choose what profile you want to use to submit the proposal with, as well as what specialized profile you want to use if you want to go that route. This is what this section looks like. You won't see the agency option unless you're part of an agency. The reason I have that is because I also have my digital agency attached. So you'll just see the top part, so you can just keep that as is, and then you get to choose whether you want to submit the proposal from your general profile or from a specialized profile. And then it'll show you the amount of connects required to submit that project. A cool feature that they have is that if a job doesn't get filled, it gets refunded. So you get those connects back. What that means is if a client doesn't end up hiring a freelancer on the platform, you'll get those connects back. so you can use those to apply to other jobs. Next, the job details section is the actual job post itself, which contains the description of what the client's looking for, the time frame, and the type of freelancer needed for the project. That is this section. As we went over in the Upwork job search demonstration, you can see that this is where they either go above and beyond and describe the project in detail, or they just list out a couple of things because they're in a rush. Make sure you're only applying to those jobs that they took the time to fill out the job description, and make sure you're referring to all of the job details when you go and build out that winning proposal. Next is the terms section, and the terms section is where you place the bid for the job. So if it's hourly, you choose an hourly rate, and if it's the fixed price, you choose your overall bid for the fixed price along with the different milestones you want to offer. So this is what it looks like on the hourly basis, and it'll show you what your profile rate is just to remind you, and you get to pick. So this is where I said in the beginning, you don't need to charge or bid on projects with your profile rate. You can bid any amount you want. And then Upwork will show you the Upwork service fee that they take out, and it'll show you how much you'll actually get in your pocket, which is just a nice little calculation that they do for you. And remember, those amounts go down the more you earn with a client. So this is the data for the first 500 you make with the client. Then in the additional details section, that's where the entire proposal actually lives. So that is where you put in your cover letter, you answer all the questions that the client asked, and then last but not least, you can attach up to 10 files to supplement your proposal. This is yet again another way you can separate yourself from the pack. A lot of freelancers aren't taking the time to put together files and attachments to send with their proposals. So we're going to go over what that looks like and what type of attachments you can use to really stand out and land clients. This is what the additional details section looks like when there aren't any client questions that are asked. It'll just show you a cover letter section and then an attachment section. From there, you can just drag and drop, or you can click the upload project files, and you can attach up to 10 files under 25 megabytes each. And then once you're ready, you just click submit proposal, and your proposal gets sent to the job post to that client. And now I'm going to show you how to craft a winning proposal using the winning proposal formula. This is how you can create cover letters and answer client questions in a way that differentiates yourself and provides tremendous value right from the start. Follow this formula when you're writing your cover letters, when you're answering your client questions, if you want to succeed. I spent years coming up with this formula, and the cover letter is what you mainly use this formula for, because the cover letter is the bulk of what the client sees when you apply to a job. It's important to thoroughly read the job post because a lot of times clients will also sneak in certain words they want you to use. For example, I'll show you later on, one client wanted me to use the word avocado in the first line of the cover letter to show that I read the whole post. So always make sure you're paying attention to detail. And that's number one, to create a winning proposal. Number two, start to look at ways you can do some further research on what the client needs. A lot of people are just copying and pasting their cover letters over, and if you take the time as a freelancer to really do some research and come up with a thoughtful way you can portray what you're going to offer them, that is how you can start to differentiate yourself again from the pack. So don't copy and paste anything. Spend time on every single proposal you send out. Make sure they're 100% unique. And now I'm going to show you how a profitable cover letter is structured. So it all starts with the attention snagging opener. This is also known as a pattern interrupt. And what this does is it separates what your proposal looks like from the rest of the proposals. So a lot of people use the same words, they're very monotonous, and nothing stands out, especially when you're sifting through a bunch of different job applications. A lot of people will just go on Google, search what the best thing to say in a cover letter is, and they'll paste that right into their cover letter. So you need to make sure you do the opposite of this. You need to use words that get attention from potential clients. They need to open up your proposal. So if you don't do this part correctly, the rest of your proposal doesn't matter. That is why this is the first part of a winning cover letter and of a winning proposal. You need to make sure you get this formula down correctly in the right order so you can have the most success possible. The attention snagging opener can be a sentence all the way up to a paragraph, and it's a way for you to separate yourself by showing that you are different, you can provide value, and you are the one that they should without a doubt get in touch with first. And then you are going to start delivering some of the work for the client. This is the most impactful part of a winning proposal, and this is one of the biggest secrets that I will be sharing with you. This helps you separate yourself immensely. Your whole goal is to engage with the client and to get a conversation started. You want to have a conversation with them because that lets you qualify them and see if you're a good fit for each other. But in order to even have that convo, you need to separate yourself from the pack. The truth is, every freelancer out there is talking about how great they are, how much experience they have, and why the client should choose them. However, I don't suggest going that same route. You're just going to blend in with the pack. Instead, I say take a turn, go on the unbeaten path, and don't talk about how great you are, but show the client how good you are. Show them by delivering some of the project for them. Now, this doesn't mean you go out and you complete the full project and spend a full day on it, but what it does mean is you take some time to show the client you're not just using words, you're also using action to show them why you're the best fit. When you start to think of it from the client's perspective and you understand that they're comparing multiple different freelancers, it's very easy to understand how easy it is to overlook a freelancer even if they might be a good fit. There's just so much competition out there. But in order to be a profitable freelancer, you need to have a way to break through that competition. And when you're able to deliver value and start to deliver some of the work for the client in your proposal, that's when you will start to have the most success. And it took me so long to figure this out. But once I started to show the client, I'm not just in it for the money, I'm not just saying how good I am, I'm showing the client by getting some of the work started, that's when clients started reaching out to me on a much more consistent basis. Now you might be asking yourself, what does delivering the work look like? The answer is it looks different based on what skill you're providing. So a couple examples are, number one, if you're providing copywriting and the client is looking for a blog or an article written, you can write the introduction for that article. And you can still follow the formula that I'm laying out and grab their attention with a attention snagging opener and then go right into what you would deliver as the intro to that article. This is a great way to show the client what kind of work you're able to deliver them, and it will separate yourself and increase the likelihood that they'll get in touch with you for an interview. Another example is if it's a Google Ads project and they're looking to build a search campaign. You can do some of the keyword research for them, and you can reach out with that keyword research and a couple suggestions of how you would structure the campaigns. All of these examples are supposed to start to shift your thinking. Don't just write a cover letter like it's your resume and you're just talking about how good you are. Focus directly on the client's project that they need done and how you're going to solve their problem. Another example is if the client is looking for a website or a landing page built. What you can do is put together a preview, a mock-up, or some wireframes and send that over to them as an attachment with the proposal. This will help them get an idea, once again, if you're a good fit for them. And if you deliver high quality work, chances are they'll be very likely to hire you over another freelancer that didn't do any work up front. Because in today's marketplace, everyone is very hyper-focused about the money, how much it's going to cost. And if you can put that aside for a second and focus on the value, like we covered in the price myth, Once that value is at a high enough amount, the client will be happy to pay you whatever your fee is because you're solving their problem and delivering value. After you start to deliver the work for them, that's when you want to go into including relevant experience or any testimonials that you have. This is another important part because after you've grabbed their attention and then after you've started to deliver the work for them, now you need to directly include some outside data in your proposal so that can build more credibility with the client for you. And even though Upwork does show your profile, and if you have some reviews on there, they will show up, that's not until later down on the page. So the cover letter is the first thing the client sees. And if you can include some relevant experience right after you've already delivered the work, that is just another way you're standing out and you're reinforcing that you're a good fit with the client. If you're just starting out, don't worry. You don't need to have this necessarily. Instead, you can use some third-party data. So back to our example before, if you're speaking about copywriting, then you can give some third-party data about why you wrote the intro the way you did. Maybe you can write about how you use the keyword a certain amount of times and how that can benefit. Get creative here. But the goal is ultimately to include some outside data or outside testimonial that helps you look better. You can say that you're the best, you can even start delivering the work, but until you start to nail all of these different things down, you won't have the most amount of clients reaching back to you as you could if you follow these steps. Another way you can include third-party data is, for example, if you're doing the web design example, you could also reach out in addition to with your wireframe or your mockup, but also why you designed the project the way you did. Maybe it will increase conversion rates, or maybe you have a different mobile design that you have for them that will help get more people in touch with the company. It doesn't matter. What matters is you're providing some sort of outside data. After that, then you want to summarize your overall approach to the job. This is meant to be a brief overview and helps build even more credibility. By summarizing how you want to go about the project and how you're going to approach it, you're not only showing the client that you're thinking ahead, but you're also showing them that you have the ability to think critically and to plan a project out in multiple phases. So many freelancers are just so excited to get a client's money and get the project started, and not many of them are thinking about the long term. So once again, if you can break down the project into multiple phases and show the client you're not just in it for the money, but you're in it to provide them value for the long term and create a relationship that's profitable on both sides, this is the type of thing you need to do. This is how you can start to structure your proposals so you start winning jobs and you don't have to waste that time and get frustrated sending dozens of proposals out and never hearing back. To end a winning proposal, you always need to finish with a clear call to action that builds urgency. And the way I do it is I always ask them if they're available to speak today. Doesn't matter if I apply to a proposal at 10 o'clock at night, I'm always going to ask them if they're available to speak as soon as possible. Every time you send a proposal out, it needs to have that call to action at the end. And that's what tells them what to do next. Even though it might be obvious, you need to literally ask them in your proposal, when can we talk? When can we meet? I think I'm a great fit. When can I show you what kind of work I can deliver? When you start to act like this and you build urgency with the client, you provide a clear call to action, it also shows them that you don't beat around the bush. You're there to help them, and it also shows that you're available and you're ready. A lot of freelancers don't always spend enough time building that urgency with their potential clients. And what happens is you might have a good conversation with the client, but nothing is finished and nothing is finalized until they actually sign the deal and the money's in your account. When you build more urgency, you're able to win more jobs because you show them you're hungry for their business. It also lets the client know you're ready to start right away. A lot of freelancers, especially once they get more experienced and busy, forget about how important speed is. And that's another way you can differentiate yourself. Even if you don't have much experience, focus on speed. It is vital in every area of freelancing. So now you know the winning proposal formula. And this is all dependent on you taking action and putting this into work. Don't copy and paste your proposals. Break them out into these 5 sections. And this is all in the winning proposal formula PDF handout. So have this open next to you as you're filling proposals out, as you're answering client questions. You can also separate some different parts of this into different client questions if they ask a bunch of them. The goal is to put together a proposal that has so much value in it, the client almost feels obligated to reach out to you. That is the way you can land more jobs on Upwork and send out winning proposals. Going over in more detail the client questions in the proposal, for these, what I like to do is to be sure you're spending the time that's necessary to answer them to the best of your ability. I like to write at least a paragraph or 2 for each question because it shows the client that I took the time to fully answer all of their questions. There's a reason they included them in the first place. And when you separate yourself from the pack by answering these in an in-depth way where you're not rushing through them, it's another way to stand apart from all of the lazy freelancers who answered in a 1-word sentence or just 1 word. If there's not enough information provided in the question, what I like to do is reach out with my initial thoughts and then ask for any additional info I need to answer that question. And this is something else I like to do in the proposal if there's any missing info, because it also shows the client you're not just there to say that you're a great fit no matter what, but you're also making sure that you have all the info needed to make sure you're a good fit and to give them an accurate quote. So every question a client asks with the proposal, make sure to go in depth on it. And if you don't have any experience with what they're asking, make sure you still provide an alternative experience or something that shows them that you're a good fit. This is how you can set yourself up for success as you go through your proposal and answer the potential client's questions. So the next part we are going to go over is winning proposal attachments. And what I have to say about this is that you always need to include attachments with every proposal you send. And especially if you're just starting out, this is how you can separate yourself from the freelancers that don't take the time to do this. Once again, our goal is to stand out as much as possible and build as much trust and credibility as we can. The potential clients don't know us yet. We need to show them why we're the best fit. So if you skip this and you don't send attachments, there's no excuse for not hearing back from clients. So if you want to be a profitable freelancer, take this part seriously, and clients will then start to take you seriously. And there are many different types of attachments you can include. One of them here, my favorite, is just holding up the phone, taking a selfie video, and speaking about the specific job posting that they posted. This is a huge differentiator and will help you get more jobs and build more credibility, even if you don't have any reviews yet on Upwork. By sending proposals with attachments and a fully written out cover letter and answering all of the client questions, it shows them how much attention to detail you spend on a project. And that is how much attention to detail you'll spend if the client hires you. Another type of attachment I like to use in my proposals is including a screen share or a screen recording of my computer. And for this, I use Camtasia, which is in the Profitable Tools and Apps. And I love this because you can become a great video editor without any experience at all. And you can easily record your screen. You can record yourself speaking about things. You can navigate through different websites and different softwares and explain things to clients. And it helps you become more memorable because so many freelancers aren't doing this. They're not taking advantage of going above and beyond and including multiple attachments, including screen recordings. You can also include your portfolio. So case studies do show up on your profile when you submit proposals, but they're not in the actual proposal section. So the client might miss out on them. And that's why I love to include them in the winning proposal attachment. And what you can do is send screenshots, or you can even just attach the PDF of a case study that you've built. This is another way that you can build more credibility and more trust with the potential client. And if you have a project that is very similar to the one you're reaching out to, then make sure you mention that in your cover letter as well and talk about why you attached the attachments you did. That is another way you can start to build even stronger proposals that are intertwined and delivering value in every single section. Lastly, you can also send reports that you have from past clients that you've helped. Or if you're just starting out, you can send third-party data of clients that are in the same industry. This is how you can leverage that third-party data, that social proof that is so needed in today's ecosystem. Reviews are vital. That's why Amazon and Google, My Business, all rely on reviews, because customer proof and social proof is a huge buying factor that people use in the marketplace. Knowing this, you can send reports with every proposal that you send out. This will help you stand out and build even more credibility than you had before. Once you start to combine all of these different things together, you go through the 5 steps of the winning proposal cover letter, you answer every question to the best of your ability, and you're including multiple different types of attachments, such as reports and videos and screen shares and case studies. There's no way you can fail if you're doing all of this and you're doing it the right way. And this is your online reputation. This is what you're going to start including in your proposals moving forward. So the level I'm personally on allows me to just get jobs based on my previous successes I've had. It allows me to use Upwork's platform that has all of that built-in credibility and show clients previous projects I've worked on and show them why I'm a good fit. As you go through this process and as you start to build more of a reputation and you start to learn your skills and become an expert, this process will become easier and easier. So don't get discouraged when you start. Put the time into every proposal and you can be where I'm at quicker than it took me. You just have to listen to everything I'm teaching. In addition to creating winning proposals using the formula provided, it's also crucial that you follow these key success factors so you can have the most success possible as a profitable freelancer. The first is to remember to price yourself competitively. Aim for bidding just under the top bids and higher than the medium bids. That's that sweet spot I showed you in the demonstration portion. You do need the pro plan to see these bids, and that's why it's so worth it if you're dedicated to your success, which I know you are. Then only apply to jobs using speed. So once a job has 20 to 50 proposals, most likely it's too late. Because the winning proposal formula I teach takes a lot of time and a lot of effort, it doesn't make sense to apply to jobs that already have 50 proposals. It's likely just going to get lost in the bunch. And you can also look at how many freelancers the client is interviewing at the time. If they're interviewing multiple freelancers, even if the job doesn't have that many proposals, once again, it's likely too late. If you focus on building winning proposals and only applying to jobs that were posted recently, you will skyrocket your chances for success. And as you go through this process and as you start to speak with clients, keep this in the back of your head that your entire goal is to build long-term, profitable relationships. You can even say this in your proposals and in your cover letters and on the phone with clients. Let them know that you're not just looking for that next project and that next payday, and that you're looking to build a profitable relationship. And you want to build just that, a relationship that's good on both ends. That is how you build a client for the long term. And as tempting as it might be, never copy and paste anything. That goes for your cover letters, client questions, whatever it is. Even if you think you can get away with it and it's similar, chances are the client will know it's not directly to them. I like to write every single proposal from scratch, starting from a unique basis. I make sure to individually craft each proposal. Treat it with care and it will flourish for you. Just copy and paste and rush and it will wilt. And also that gets into quality versus quantity. In my opinion, when you're doing proposals the right way and you're looking for jobs the right way and you're only applying to the jobs that are the best fit, 3 proposals done the right way are better than 20 that were just rushed. That's just the way it is. Nothing in life is free and nothing good comes quick or easy. So when you start to put the time in and you start to provide the best proposals possible by delivering value and starting the work in each one, you don't need to send out 20. All you need to do is send out less that are much more valuable. Now let's get into what the Upwork platform looks like from the client's perspective. This was for a job post that I hired a freelancer for one of my clients that I needed some help with. And I was just looking to hire a blog writer. What happened was I got 26 different freelancers send proposals out to the job. So this just shows you you're obviously going to be competing with other freelancers. And as you can see, this is what it looks like. It shows your photo, your name, the bid that you bid on the project, the location you're located in, how much you've earned, and then it shows you the first line or two of the cover letter. When you're sending proposals out, keep this in mind. Take a screenshot of this if you need to, because this is why the first sentence of your cover letter is so important, and it needs to grab as much attention as possible. Remember when I said if that first attention-grabbing intro wasn't good enough, your whole proposal doesn't matter? This is what I mean by that. Because if you're reaching out, especially if you don't have any money earned yet on the platform, and you are not making yourself stand out in that first sentence or two, you're just going to get brushed over. And that's what I had to do. I had to archive 23 different freelancers. And it wasn't because some of them weren't good. It was just because I had so many to choose from. So the ones I already started interviewing that stood out to me in the beginning, those were the ones that had a much higher likelihood of getting hired. Keep this in mind as you start to craft those winning proposals. Now here is a screenshot of what a winning proposal looks like. This is just an example, and I don't intend for this to be the Holy Grail or to read every word of it, but in general, just look at it. Look at what a winning proposal looks like. Look at how my cover letter is substantially written, and there's much more room to scroll down and read the other things I wrote. And when they asked a question, I went into full detail. I also noted previous successes I've had that relate directly to the job I was applying to. And then I included 2 attachments that directly show the value I provided on those previous projects. In the cover letter, I also started to deliver some of the work, and I told them how I recommended structuring their retargeting campaigns. This is what every proposal you send out should look like. You need to spend the time on this, and I promise you, you will be happy you did, because you'll have much more success, and that will keep you more motivated on your freelance journey. Once you've built a rockstar Upwork profile like I have, clients will want to start to work with you. And when a client sends you an invite to a job, you don't have to spend any connects to apply to it. And you also have a much higher likelihood of closing the deal and landing that client because they already expressed interest to you and reached out to you. For invitations, I make sure to read their full job post. The one I'm showing you right now starts with the word avocado in all capitals. You might be asking yourself why that's in there, but if you read the job description, you would have seen that the client said, please say avocado as the first word or I won't read your proposal. So this was one of those hidden examples of even when a client invited me to the job, I still had to pay attention to detail. I still attached my good reviews that made sense for this project, and I still took the time to give them a little bit of a background on how I would structure their YouTube ads based on what their job post said. So now you know how to craft a winning proposal. If you follow these steps, you make sure to provide as much value as you can on every proposal you send out, you will be putting yourself in the best position possible on the road to freelance success. I look forward to seeing you in the next lesson. Lesson 2. This lesson is called How to Find the Best Freelance Jobs, and it will show you how to use the Upwork platform to find the best jobs to submit proposals to. The reason this lesson is important is because there's a big difference between a good client and a bad client. And when you start to work on the wrong type of jobs and you get yourself in these relationships with clients where it's just a nightmare situation, this is what you might be waking up to. Angry clients who are never happy with the work you deliver. This is because you decided to work with them. You need to understand what goes into a bad client and what goes into a good client. So then when you use the Upwork search, you can distinguish those and make sure you're only spending your time and energy on the clients that are going to be good for you. To be a profitable freelancer, you not only have to provide in-demand skills, but you need to work with the right type of clients that are willing to pay you and that are happy with the value that you are providing. If you work with the wrong type of clients, they will start to not only affect your energy and motivation, but eventually they'll also impact the bottom line because you won't be making as much as you could if you were working with a high-ticket client. In this lesson, we are going to be covering the process on Upwork, how looking for jobs works, how to do customized searches, and we will be diving into all of that. I will also cover what goes into a good job. This is the different things to look for as you begin to do your job search so you can make sure you're only reaching out to the best jobs for you. Then we will discuss the red flags to avoid. There are certain red flags that are pretty obvious, but I'm also going to show you some more advanced ones that can give you an idea for how much a client pays on average, if their payment method is verified, and a lot more things that will help you get more transparency before you even send that proposal out. And lastly, we will be covering how to search for jobs on Upwork. That is when I will be doing a full demonstration for you so you can see me live walk through how to search for jobs, how to do custom searches, how to save your searches, and much more. First, let me show you a demo video that Upwork has which describes the Upwork process as a freelancer.
With Upwork, you can find clients you love and work you love to do. Collaborate with companies all over the world and work on your terms. We'll take care of the contracts and make sure you get paid on time every time. It all starts with a free profile. Share your professional background and build client confidence with accomplishments, accolades, or even case studies. Add a video for a personal touch. You can update your availability and rates as you grow. AI-powered search filters through tens of thousands of opportunities to quickly identify the ones that are right for you. Review client ratings, history, and project details before you apply. Start with a one-off project or ongoing engagements. Just submit your proposal. Ask any questions and answer any of theirs. Then negotiate terms. With a strong profile, clients will start coming to you. From file sharing to conferencing, everything happens right here on Upwork. That includes protected payments so you get paid on time for your work. As your reputation grows, your career will too, so you can work as much or as little as you want. Looking for a more rewarding way to freelance? Upwork is how.
So that was an overview of how the Upwork platform works. And as we went over in the circle of focus, it's very easy to get sidetracked, to start to want to do things off the platform as you get more experience. But as you just saw, if you do focus on the platform, you build your reputation on Upwork, you use the skills that I'm teaching you to find the best jobs and work with the best clients, those clients will start to come to you. But that's only if you dedicate yourself to Upwork and becoming a successful freelancer on there. Now let's dive into what they were showing in the video. The AI-powered search that they mentioned gives you the ability to toggle the exact settings that you want so you can discover the type of jobs you're looking for. I'm going to be doing a walkthrough on this shortly where I show you how to search for specific jobs, how to use custom filters, and how to save searches. The Upwork feed is a beautiful place. It is how you can keep your pipeline full at all times. It's always being updated, literally every minute of the day. There's new jobs being posted because there are so many opportunities in the gig economy, and freelancers now are needed more than ever before. So you can choose the best categories that fit for you. And this is all about where you're at in your journey, whether you're looking for a certain type of jobs, if they're hourly or fixed priced, if you're looking for a certain experience level, and all the way to the skill that you want to provide. That is going to help you narrow down the best jobs for you. So I always like to look at my Upwork homepage because that serves as a feed based on all the skills that you entered on your profile. So that's a good way to look at what Upwork's algorithm is recommending for you. And then after you've went through all of those, you've sent proposals out to the ones that are interesting, that's when you can get a little bit deeper into the Upwork platform and start to do these AI-powered searches using their advanced searching feature. So if you're just starting out, of course, you don't want to toggle the expert jobs. And if you're an expert, you don't want to target any of the entry level. So you always want to make sure that you have the right settings because that is the foundation of what jobs will start to come up as you begin to apply. Next, I want to talk about another way Upwork helps you keep your pipeline full. And this isn't on the platform. This is actually an email that they send out. And I get these on a weekly basis, sometimes multiple times a week. And these aren't direct invites from clients, but these are just jobs on Upwork that need more proposals that fit my skill set. And that's exactly what Upwork wants to do because they need to fill these jobs. That's how Upwork gets paid. When they match a client to a freelancer and it goes well, everyone makes money. So they'll send you emails based on the skills you've entered and the jobs that you've worked on. This is another extremely helpful way that you can use speed to your advantage. You can jump on these quick and you will have a much higher chance for success because if you're focusing on just one thing, like we said, that is when you will start to see the most impact. And Upwork provides multiple different touch points in different ways that you can fill your pipeline at all times. As we get into what makes a good job. So in the video, you saw that you're able to review the client's rating, history, and specific project details. So I like to look at it as two different things because there's the job posting itself, and then there's the client history and ratings. As you're going through your search, you first want to look for some of the basic things that they provide, such as if their payment method is verified, what their rating is, because the ratings work both ways. So a freelancer also rates the client at the end of every project. This helps keep the platform very fair and transparent. Also, it'll show you where the client's located, how many jobs that they've posted, and how many people they've actually hired. That is the hire rate, and that's another important thing to look at because it shows you how many jobs they actually hire a freelancer for and how many don't ever lead to a job. You can also see how much they've spent on the platform. So in this example right here, they spent over $200,000. They have their payment method verified. They have 5-star review. You can see where they're located in New York. And then it'll show you the average amount they pay freelancers on Upwork. And this is just on every job post because all of this info is provided for you. As you go through and start to look through these projects, always make sure you're reaching out to not only job descriptions that make sense for you, but you're also doing more research on the client and making sure that they're a good fit. Now let's go over some jobs to avoid. So jobs that look like this. Always be on the lookout for red flags. So I will show you where you can access the past reviews, but for this, focus on just what you can see. And what you can see is two very upset people. There's the client and the freelancer both leaving each other a 1-star review. And this was for $1,000 project. So this isn't just some little project that someone hired a freelancer to do. This is $1,000 project. And I'm not going to read through this whole thing, but if you want to pause it and read through it, I suggest you do, because this is what you need to avoid. If you have a review like this on your profile, it will damage your reputation likely for a long time. You can always get more good reviews, but something that's like this is something that will harm you for years to come. This is the ultimate thing to avoid on Upwork. You need to make sure you're only reaching out to jobs that are the best fit for you, and you're working with clients that have a track record of success. If you're working with clients that are a little bit shady, that you have a gut feeling that aren't a good fit, don't let the money deter you from being ethical. Another thing you want to avoid is a client that, number one, has bad reviews, but number two, is also very brief with their description, and ones that are just looking for entry-level work or haven't paid freelancers a lot in the past. Anyone looking for entry-level work or can't even take the time to write a full description out, it just shows that they're not a high-ticket client. And if you reach out to jobs like this, and even if you get these types of jobs, you are not going to be making a lot of money, and you are not going to be able to build a profitable freelance business from this. Even if you're just starting out and you want to get some good reviews, never work with a client that has a 1-star rating, and never send a proposal out to a job that doesn't even use a full sentence. So if they can't even capitalize and use full sentences, that's a red flag right there. If they're not serious, even if it looks like it's a good hourly rate, don't let that trick you. You need to move on and go to a client that will actually respect you and pay you what you're worth. Here's another job to avoid, and this is when you continue to look at the client's history and it's just more and more of these bad reviews on both sides. This shows that obviously something is wrong with this client. If they're hiring someone and they're both leaving each other 1 star, there's no way that that's a good client for you to work with. You can see here they wrote, unfortunately, her work was below average and she didn't have the knowledge she stated at the beginning. So if they're willing to leave a freelancer that review without being able to understand that in the interview process, and without this freelancer being able to identify that this client is not going to work out, this is what it results in: a 1-star review for both of you. So before we jump in, the whole goal was to show you, number one, you need to protect your profile and your reputation like it's your life, because it is. That is what will get you money in the future. The more you build your profile, the more good reviews you have, and the more money you've earned through the platform, the more clients will start to come to you. And now it's time for the Upwork job search demonstration. You can follow along and also look through all the information I'm about to go through in the Upwork job search manual handout. And this is where I go on the platform, I show you how to conduct searches and how to find and identify the best clients possible for you. Welcome to the Upwork job search demonstration. This is what it looks like once you log into the Upwork platform. This is your news feed, and it has all of the different jobs that have been posted based on the skills on your profile. So there's 3 different ways you can find jobs. The first is on your news feed, and I have mine set to US only. So it's showing me jobs that match the skills on my profile that are in the US. And on this platform, these US only jobs, if you look at this, they pay 75% higher rates, they have 20% less competition, and the earnings are 50% larger. So if you're located in the US, I highly suggest you use this feature and you only apply to jobs that are located in the US. This will automatically filter out a lot of work that is low level, and you can focus on people that are looking for clients located in the US, and you can get paid more for it. So as I was saying, you have 3 different areas. The first is this homepage, and as I scroll down, you can see that this is pretty much a never-ending feed, and it posts jobs and shows jobs based on when they were posted. So you can see this was an hour ago, and as I continue to scroll down and keep going, it will just keep loading. So you can load more jobs and you can keep scrolling down. It'll show you that a lot of these are still very recent. So I'm already on the second page and this was posted 2 hours ago. So your home feed serves as the most recent jobs that were posted. That's really what this is for, because it shows all the different skills and you can keep going down and down. And the more you go down, the further back in time it will show you. As we go back to the top, the other place you can find and search for jobs is on the left-hand side of your screen. And this is where you can search by the skill category. As you go through your job search process, your goal is to be a detective, to find high-ticket clients. It's important to be extremely selective as you go through your journey and as you're searching for jobs to apply to. What the left-hand side of the screen lets you do is search by specific category so you can get even more targeted. For example, if we click through to e-commerce development, it will now show me only jobs for that specific skill set. So if you want to look in more detail at a specific skill and see how many jobs are available, you can do that. And based on the criteria I have set up in the e-commerce development skill set in the US, based on the settings I have, there's 613 jobs available right now. So that means there's 613 jobs I can potentially go through and apply to. Once you start to see how much opportunity there is, it will open your eyes to how much you can really make as a profitable freelancer. When you look through specific skill set, these are all related to e-commerce. However, like we learned in the skills section, there's a lot of different skill sets within the main categories. So within e-commerce, there's Amazon, there's Shopify, there's Squarespace. There's a lot of different projects. So even though you're still targeting a skill set, there's a lot of different variations within those. So you can look at what type of jobs are best for you based on what skill set you're learning and where your expertise lies. The last place you can look for jobs is the AI-powered search that we saw in the video. If we scroll all the way to the top, you can always access this search by clicking on this little magnifying glass. When you click on this, it will open up a full advanced search that we can use to find the best freelance jobs possible. When it opens this page, what you want to do is click on this filters button. That will pop open all of the different filters. And right now it's set to the most broad range possible. So when you just click through, it will keep it at anything. So any job type, any experience level, any client history, any hours per week, any budget, any number of proposals. If you want to get more detailed, which is what I suggest you do, you can go in and start to narrow down what is best for you based on where you're at. Another cool thing they show is how many jobs are available right now, because there's 19,901 jobs right now available on Upwork. And of course, this is the broadest setting, but you only need to be successful with a small amount of these jobs to build a profitable business. And that is what I'm showing you to do. Because once you've developed your skill set, you have your millionaire mindset, you're ready to start delivering the work, and you know what goes into making a good client, now it's time to find those clients. So what you can do is narrow it down. So for me, I always look for expert level positions. For you, I recommend starting at intermediate and avoiding entry level at all costs, because this is where it is just a race to the bottom. So either start with intermediate, or if you have an advanced skill set, start with expert as well. And then you can look for clients that have at least hired one person before. This helps you narrow down your search even further. And then you can leave it a little bit open if you want, because sometimes fixed price projects are good and sometimes hourly price projects are good. And sometimes an hourly project will lead to a fixed price project. So I don't like to automatically take one or the other out. But what I do like to do is keep them open and keep in mind what I'm applying to and which type of job it is. So once you have some settings that you're happy with, you can save your search from there. And as you can see, it narrows it down and shows you how many jobs are available now based on what I have selected. So this is all the jobs based on my skill set that are intermediate level, expert level, and have at least 1 to 9 hires on the platform. So if I wanted to save that, all I have to do is click this Save Search button, and I can type in exactly what this is. So I would type in intermediate/expert with 1 to 9 hires. And what it will do is save this search, and you can access it later on. This is really helpful as you begin to look for different things. And you can always access that on the left-hand side of your homepage. From there, you can get more detailed and you can search for specific skill sets. So if we want to look for a specific skill, such as e-commerce, like we were looking at before, this is a way you can search for a specific skill set with this search filter over it. When you click on the magnifying glass, you scroll down and you click close filters, what it did now is narrowed it down again. So now it's at 487 jobs because I typed in e-commerce. So now it's not showing me intermediate, expert, 1 to 9 hires. It's only showing me those that also have e-commerce somewhere in the job description or in the skills. This is how you can start to get super targeted, because now we have 487 jobs that are likely a good fit if we want to provide e-commerce. Once you have this narrowed down, it doesn't matter which method you use, whether you use the homepage method, you use the category method on the left side of the page, or you use this advanced search. The next part is the same for all of them. You just need to start going through each job. And what I do is I like to scroll through on the surface. So all of these are clickable job posts that you can click through. But what Upwork does is it provides some info right on the front so you can automatically start qualifying certain jobs. Because once you have your desired search settings set up, that's when you need to start to do the scanning and actually looking through these jobs. And speed is such a valuable thing. Starting with jobs that were posted the most recent makes the most sense, and you always want to send proposals out to the jobs that were posted the most recently. That's where you have the most chance of actually getting a response. Once proposals have been sent in and a lot of people have applied to a job, you will see that number here. So 5 to 10 is not too bad. Once it gets over 10 and it gets into 15 to 20 or more than 20, that's when you have a very low likelihood of actually hearing back. So always start with the jobs that were posted the most recently, and then you can start to move on to other jobs that are a little bit more broad or that have been posted longer ago. During your search, also keep in mind you only want to click through to jobs that make sense for you. So if we continue scrolling and we see right here MailChimp, if this looks like a great job, but you're not good at MailChimp or you've never used MailChimp and they need a MailChimp expert, don't apply to that job. It is not going to be a good situation for either you or the client. You only want to apply for jobs that are appropriate for you, that you can deliver on. That is how you will build a profitable freelance foundation that will serve you for years and years to come. Your ultimate goal is to get to expert level jobs, but if you're just starting out, start with those intermediate ones, start getting reviews on your profile, and avoid the entry level jobs unless you just want to work for peanuts. Next, once you find something that looks promising for you, that's when you can start to click through. And you can look at the proposals that were submitted already, and that means how many other freelancers already applied. And then you can also see if their payment method is verified. I only like to apply to jobs that have their payment method verified. This means their card number is in Upwork, it's verified, and if you work with them, you're going to get paid on time every time. You can also see the reviews the client has, and if you scroll over it without even clicking through, you can see how many feedback that was based on. And this was one feedback. So this is one client. They had one freelancer they hired for $40. So take that with a grain of salt as you go through. Because just because it's a 5-star review doesn't mean it's the best client ever. It's still a good start though. And as you go through and you look at more and more jobs, like for example, this client is also based on one feedback, but that was $400 job. So you can automatically start to see what a client does on average and who they are before you click through. And you can also see the job description, the title, and the budget that they put in for the project, as well as if it's a fixed price or an hourly. When you're looking through all of these, you want to find ones that make the most sense for you with everything we just went over. So the title, the type of skill they're looking for, what kind of position it is, the budget for it, when it was posted, the job description, and the client's profile and background. As we go through these, let's find one in real time that looks good. So right here, this one automatically catches my eye for a couple things. They're only looking for freelancers in the US. You can see that right here. They're located in the US. They have spent over 1,000 and they have 5 stars based on 2 reviews, and they have a payment method verified. And it has 10 to 15 proposals, which is still in that sweet spot. This job was posted 5 hours ago, so it's still somewhat recent. I think if you can get to something within the first 12 hours, that's really where you have your best shot. After that, you still have the ability to get found and noticed, but your likelihood falls off. So this job looks good. Number 1, I can click this heart button if I want. When I do that, it keeps it in my saved jobs for later on. And then I can click through. Once you click through, it will open up the actual job description. And you can see the client's details on the right, and then you can see the job and the description on the left. You can also see how many connects are required to submit a proposal to this project. And then you can see how many you have available to submit. Once you get to this page, I always like to look at the client's info first, just to make sure that it's good and it's a good fit before we dive into the job description. So right off the bat, we already saw their 5-star review. We know that their payment method is verified. And now what we can also see is that they have 8 jobs posted. They've hired half of them. They have 1 open job, which is list job. And they spent over $1,000 and they paid on average $50 an hour. And they've done that for 12 hours. They've been a member since 2018. So what this tells me is that this is likely a good client. I can see before I even do any reading that they took the time to write out a full job description, which shows me that they have attention to detail. I can see that they have multiple good reviews and that they spent over $1,000. They hire half the jobs that they posted, and their hourly rate is pretty high. So just with that info alone, I can now start to look at if this job description is good for me. And that's the exact process I recommend doing. What you can also do is dig deeper into this client. The way you do that is you scroll all the way down, and underneath all of the settings of the job post, you will be able to see the client's recent history. And this is where you can see the exact reviews left on both sides. You can see when the jobs were posted, how much they were for, and what they paid the client for. This is also helpful to see what the client's been up to and see if they're a good fit for you. You can also see what jobs that they currently have in process. So this is apparently someone that is doing a lot of things on the platform. They have multiple jobs in progress for graphic designers, videographers, and this shows me that this client is a great opportunity. We just found this live on the spot, so I want to show you the process I go through. And automatically at this point now, this is a good client. I can tell you that because of everything we've uncovered. So then what you can do is dig deeper into the job description, and then you can look at the settings, what the client is looking for. The hours, it says to be determined. This is a 3 to 6 month project, which means they're likely looking for someone on a long-term basis, and also intermediate level, which is what I recommend if you're starting out. And this is also good because if it says intermediate and they're paying $50 an hour on average, that's a great fit because that means they're really willing to pay for that good mix of experience and value. And then you can see the type of questions that they are going to ask when you submit the proposal if you decide to do so. So every job you submit, you need to submit a cover letter, which is basically the first thing a client sees, and that's what stands out to clients. But in addition, and in order for them to narrow down freelancers that are the best fit for them, there's also the opportunity for them to pick more questions. So this is where they ask things like, do you have any questions about the job description? Do you have suggestions to make the project run successfully? Why do you think you're a good fit? And then sometimes they'll ask for examples of previous work that you've done. And this is all things you can look at before you send a proposal, because if you don't have any existing work and you don't think you're a good fit necessarily and you don't know how to answer these, that's a likely sign that you should focus on something else that you have more experience in. If you focus on jobs that you can answer all these questions on before you even send that proposal, you're setting yourself up for success, and you're only going to work with good clients at that point. When you go down further, you can see the different skills and expertise categories they chose. And for this, you can see they chose a lot of different skills. For them, this helps the job show up in a lot of different sections. And since this job is a multiple skill job, as you can see, social media manager, growth, and content, that tells me that they're looking for a real freelancer who can provide multiple services. And that's why they have all of these picked, because there's multiple platforms that go into social media management. And they wanted to make sure to include that so they have the best freelancers reaching out. When you get to the bottom of this is also where they have their preferred qualifications. And if you see this check, it means you meet that. So since I have a job success score of over 90%, fluent in English, and I've earned over 10,000, it's all showing up as check marks. If these show up as X's, it doesn't mean that you can't apply. It just means you have a lower chance of hearing back from the client. Then you can see the activity on the job. This is where you can see even more behind the scenes info. And this is a powerful feature that not a lot of freelancers know you can see. But if you go to this area on the job post, you can see when the client last viewed the project. This is very important because if they're a serious client and they're a high ticket client, they are not going to let the job just sit there for days and days. So if you see this is a job that they've viewed recently, and you can also see if they're interviewing people, you can tell how serious they are and how likely they are to hire a freelancer for it. You can also see how many invites they sent out and if they were answered or not. So this is a great time to get into this job if I was going to bid on it, because they haven't started interviewing anyone yet. They haven't reviewed it in 5 hours and it was only posted 5 hours ago. So if I get in there now, I know I can be in that first batch of freelancers that they look at. And that is how you can start to show up and find the best jobs possible with the right strategy in place. Then you can see the bid range. This is why I suggest paying the $14.99 a month at the time of this recording, which is what Upwork Premium costs. For that, you're able to see behind the scenes what the highest bid is, what the average bid is, and what the low bid is. And this helps you slide in to this in-between range if you want to, based on the budget. So if we go up here and we look at the hourly to be determined, they don't have a budget range set, but we can also see that they paid $50 an hour. So if we go down here, we can see that that $50 an hour fits right in the middle of there. And that's where I suggest really sliding in. Unless you are a top level expert and you know you need to charge a higher rate than the high rate says, I always recommend sliding in right in between. Because if you come in at $50 an hour, let's say, that's a good middle point between the high bid and the average bid. And that shows the client you want to be paid what you're worth, but you're also a little bit cheaper than the most expensive person. That's a strategy you can use to stand out and get jobs more frequently. If you're always coming in at the highest bid possible or the lowest bid possible, you're likely getting thrown out because most of the freelancers hired are in between the high and average bid. Then always make sure that you're not bidding something that's too off from what their average is. And since their average is 50, and it fits right there, that is how you can start to bid on jobs that have an hourly basis. And you could do the same thing if it was fixed price. It would show you the fixed price bid, high, average, and low amounts. Once you have all this data, now you have a better idea of how you can craft the best proposal possible for this project if it's a good fit for you. Now, let me show you what it looks like when you go to actually submit that proposal. What you will do is you will click that Submit a Proposal button. And this is where it is going to show you and walk you through the proposal process. You have the settings of the proposal up here. You have the job details here with all the skills that they chose. And then this is where you set up the terms. And then this is where the additional details is where all of the proposal actually is. The cover letter and all of the questions that they asked. So this is how you access this area of it. And next I will walk you through how you can send the best proposals possible so you can get noticed and start landing clients. So now you know some of the job search best practices that I recommend. If we go back up to the top and go to the homepage to do a recap, you can find jobs in multiple different places on the platform. You can find jobs using the advanced search when you click on the magnifying glass. You can find jobs that were posted recently in your news feed, and then you can find jobs by category on the left-hand side, as well as your recent and saved searches. So as you go on your journey and you start to look at different jobs that are good for you, I suggest keeping your Upwork feed open throughout the day. I like to do this because you can press refresh, and then if you see a job that comes in and you were the first one to be able to act, that increases your chances of getting hired by such a high percentage. And it also helps you stay active on the platform. It's amazing how many people post jobs every day and at all hours of the day, because there's different time zones, people are posting from all over, so there's always new opportunity rolling in. And if you can get to people at the right time, once they posted the job and they're still excited about it, that's when you can really start to stand out and have more success on the platform. When you're searching for jobs, remember the things I just taught you. Don't waste time on jobs that already have a lot of proposals, and make sure you're only applying to jobs that are the best fit for you. Lastly, I showed you why Upwork Premium is worth the money, because you have a behind the scenes view at what other people are bidding, and you can put yourself in the best position possible. And always pay attention to what type of client you're applying to so you can protect your reputation and start building your profitable profile. So now you know how to find high ticket clients on Upwork using all of Upwork's search functionality. I'll see you in the next lesson where we'll go over how you can send out the best proposal possible to have success. Lesson 1. This lesson is called Profitable Freelance Sales Process, and it will show you an overview of how the sales process works on Upwork. The reason this lesson is important is because when you approach something such as sales or freelancing without a process, it's like trying to navigate a maze without a map. You might start out and think you're going in the right direction, but then before you know it, you hit a dead end. And I'm talking from experience because I've been on the Upwork platform for years now, and when I first started out, I had little to no success until I started to put into action everything I teach in this academy. So treat all of this as the map to your future freelance success. You can't just enter the freelance world without a plan and without a sales process. So that is what we will be covering, and that is why this lesson is so important to your future success. The first step of the sales process all begins with you conducting a search on the Upwork platform. That is where you go. You can create customized searches, which I will show you in future lessons. And from there, what you do is you find the right jobs that are the best fit for you. Once you've established a job that is a good fit, then it's time to build a proposal using that proposal handout And that is when you send something to the client. Think of it as a resume or as an offer letter that you're sending to the client that shows them you're interested in the work. The whole goal of this is for them to get back in touch with you. If you did it right and you built the proposal with the right format and you grab their attention, then the client will get back in touch with you. From there, the next step is getting the client on a sales call or an online demonstration. Your number one goal here is to schedule that appointment and get them on the phone. Even if it's just a phone call, or better yet, if you're using Google Hangouts, you can also do a screen share to show them your screen. But the whole point of this is that you're separating yourself from the pack. You're getting the client on a phone where number one, you can qualify them, and number two, you can really set yourself apart by leaving a lasting impression on the client. After a successful sales call or demo, then it's time to put together a quote and send that to the client. From there, that's when you close the deal. So you don't want to think of this as a client gets in touch with you and you get on a call and immediately you start working. That is not how most freelance sales occur. What happens is the client will speak to a wide number of freelancers. So by you sending them a quote after the sales demo, it allows you to build their memory of you in their head, because then they have something in writing. And you don't want to do this on the call. You want to do it in writing, and the client might accept those terms, or most likely they will schedule another call to speak in more detail. And that is when I'm going to show you how you can use the phone to close the deal. So those are the 4 steps in the profitable freelance sales process. And now let's go over some of the biggest mistakes that I see freelancers make in this process so you can avoid them and save time on your journey. The first freelance mistake that I see really often in the sales process is people applying and sending proposals out to bad jobs. Just because they want to make some money and they think it's a good idea, when you reach out to the wrong type of projects, you're not only jeopardizing yourself because you might get a bad review or you might have a bad experience with the client on the platform, but you're also sacrificing that opportunity cost. And what that means is with any decision you make, you're also giving up something else because you're doing something instead of something else. So for example, if you're reaching out to bad jobs, that is time you could be spending reaching out to the right clients and the right jobs. So just think about it like this when you're tempted to send proposals out to jobs that aren't good. Focus on only cherry picking the best opportunities for you. Then copy and pasting proposals is a surefire way to not have success on any freelance platform. People need to know that you're talking directly to them, and you need to make everything you do tailored towards whoever you're speaking to. So remember in the sales section, we spoke about making that client feel like they're the only one that you're serving. Don't forget about that, because if you just copy and paste proposals just to send more out, you're doing more harm than good. Another mistake is not standing out from the pack. So being too generic and just blending in is another way that you'll likely just get glanced over during the sales process. In addition to that, if you're not willing to get on the phone with a client, that is a big mistake. It's showing the client you're not that serious, and it can even signal some red flags to them. Clients like working with freelancers that they can get to know, they can hop on a call with, and get familiar with the way they work and the way they sound and the way that they act. If you're not willing to do that, you're likely not going to be able to set yourself apart and have success. Giving your price over the phone is another mistake because it opens the client up to a bunch of different objections and complaints that aren't needed at that stage. Usually it's time to figure out what the client wants first before you go into just giving them a price. Remember, every client is on Upwork and is hiring a freelancer because they need a problem solved. So first establish what the true problem is they need solved, and then you can focus on providing that written quote. Another mistake is undervaluing yourself and your services you provide. If you're not charging enough and not quoting enough for your services, not only will you not feel satisfied, but you likely won't have enough money to make freelancing a full-time reality for you. So you need to learn these skills that are valuable so you can charge what you are worth. Then, focusing on yourself instead of the client is a big mistake that will stand out right away to a client. They can always tell when you're focused too much on the money and too much on yourself and not digging deep into how you can help them. The last mistake is having a slow response time, and this is with anything, with a client and with freelancing in general. The quicker you respond, the better you will do. And that goes for before you have a client, after you have a client, and even during that process. Keep this in mind so you can always deliver the best quality service possible throughout the sales process. And now you have a map of the freelance sales process so you can navigate it easier. I look forward to seeing you in the next lesson. So excited to have you here for this module, as we're going to dive into how you can find and close high-ticket clients on the Upwork platform. What I teach you in this module will help you take action and stand out from the competition as you go about your freelance journey. In this module, we are going to cover the difference between what a good client is and what a bad client is, so you can focus on the good clients right from the start. Then we're going to discuss how to find the best jobs for you. Here, I'm going to show you how you can use the Upwork platform to do customized searches and find jobs that are the best match based on the skill set you provide. After that, we'll go into how to craft the perfect proposal. And here you can use the winning proposal formula handout with this lesson, and it will show you how you can create a winning proposal that stands out from the competition and ultimately gets clients to contact you. Then we will go into how you can structure contracts and how you can structure deals. This is where we get into short-term versus long-term projects, hourly versus fixed rates, how milestones work, how escrow works. We will cover it all. After that, we will do a negotiating and closing deals masterclass. This is a very important segment because you can't overlook this part. The battle has just begun when a client gets back in touch with you. You now need to do everything in your power to actually win their business. And in this part, that's where I show you how you can do just that. Lastly, I will show you how you can land your first clients so you can get out there, secure some 5-star reviews, and build that momentum without any experience yet. In this module, first, I will detail what the freelance sales process consists of. Then, how to find the best jobs, how to create those winning proposals, the perfect first sales demo. This is where I show you what to do after you get in touch with a client. Then we will go over rules for profitable phone calls. Here is where I will show you how you can use the phone to your advantage as a freelancer. Followed by how to qualify clients, and this is big so you understand what is a good client for you. This occurs before any deals happen, so you only work with the best clients possible. After that, structuring profitable contracts, negotiating and closing those deals, how to use follow-up methods to close even more deals, and then a detail on your first clients. So those are the different things we will be covering, and now let's get right into the first lesson of the module.